Jay Crawford, Adam the Bull, Garrett Bush, and so many big names, it would take me hours to say all of their names. The ultimate Cleveland sports show. Booyah.
Bullpen. I mean, unbelievable.
Welcome!
Hey, hello!
Another week of the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show.
It is.
Opening week. The Guardians have their home opener Friday.
Yeah.
You going?
No, I cannot. Well, I'll be here, but I guess I could. In theory, I could go, but I'm not going. No.
I'm pumped. Get baseball back
It
here.
is going to be sunny.
Supposed to be sunny, but
Cold.
chilly.
Cold.
Yeah.
What's funny is the temperatures for the next 2 weeks look awesome, except for Friday.
I know. Yeah, we've
But
got
at
a
least it'll be
70s
sunny.
in there Wednesday.
When?
Yeah.
Hey, McNuggets is here.
Yes.
Yeah.
Where's, you know how to say, you're not G. Bush.
I'm not G. Bush.
Things
G?
are crazy this week.
G is
Bush has
laryngitis.
got laryngitis. He's probably out the whole week.
no.
Brad's got jury duty. We don't know what his status is. This
Wow,
is
can
the
you
week
imagine-
you and I are scaling down a little bit. So who knows what the hell's going to happen around.
Tune in to find out.
Jason's
Jason's on vacation.
Needs on vacation.
Tyvis
so.
is locked into the radio all week, and I was supposed to be in North Carolina today. And
Yeah.
Oh, really?
He's supposed to go to his grandfather's funeral, and he blew it off to stay on the show. No, he didn't.
Yeah, no, the
that's not
weather,
true, is
the weather on Saturday delayed my flight from Cleveland. I missed my connection flight.
Oh,
and
wow.
I couldn't get into Myrtle Beach
Because
till
of the
after
winds,
service.
right?
Winds and storms.
Crazy
yeah, so.
winds.
Crazy.
over the
Power
So I was
out.
supposed to be here all today, and
Well,
obviously I am.
we appreciate the effort.
We need a
lot
body.
to talk
It's
to
lucky, yeah.
about, rather.
Yeah.
Guardians 3-1. What an incredible start to the year.
Yep.
After a really tough season opening loss, they bounced back.
Yeah.
Bullpen has been unbelievable. We talked about how that's one of the hardest
Yeah.
things to carry over success-wise.
So far, so good. Except for
No
Karinchak,
bumps in the road. Yeah, except for the
who was
one
better
time
in
with
his second
Karinchak.
appearance, although he was shaky a little too.
I was
get there.
screaming
We'll
at
get
the
there.
TV, get him
Yeah.
out, get him out. Why did you even put him in?
He was pumped though when he got that strikeout.
Yeah,
there
he
at the
was
inning.
very excited.
Yeah.
Cavs won, but they lost a game Friday that does
Yeah.
not portend good things for the playoffs, at least in my view. We're going to talk about that. Do you trust this Cavs team against a Knicks team that the Cavs would have home court advantage of, but quite frankly, they've laid eggs against the Knicks all year. I think it's a terrible matchup. We could be looking at one and done for the Cavs. We'll discuss that. Bulls bet. How'd you do Friday?
I think I lost.
He
I think it
lost.
was-
The
Did you?
Marlins. You bet the Mets money line. The Marlins won 2-1.
Yeah, let's get the read in, guys, and then we'll get more details on that. What do we got?
Hey, Ohio, Bet Rivers Online Sportsbook is the place to be for every single game. Now is the perfect time to join Bet Rivers Sportsbook. When you use deposit code SPORTS, you'll receive a second chance bet up to $500. Get in on all the action with weekly specials on your favorite sports like basketball and hockey to help you win big. Check out BetRivers.com or download the Bet Rivers app today for the latest lines, odds, and boosts. Boy, what you got?
Yeah, all right. So I lost on Friday. I can't remember what the game was.
You had Mets Marlins. You had Mets to win.
Right,
Marlins
I had the
won
Mets,
2-1.
so they lost, and so that went down the tubes. I'm going college basketball tonight. I'm going to take a break from baseball for one day because I love San Diego State tonight.
Wow, do you really?
I do. I expect it to be a close game. I know San Diego State needed a late basket to win, and obviously people are prisoner of the moment because UConn just beat the tar out of Miami. But
They're
San
good
Diego-
on defense. I hadn't watched UConn a lot this year.
Yeah.
They're good on defense.
They are,
They're
but
good
so
on
is San
offense,
Diego
too.
State.
Yeah, they can score.
And San Diego State's got men. They
Yeah,
got
they do.
men.
They do
They're
have
an
men.
older team.
That's a good
They
way of
have-
saying
they-
it.
I mean, I just don't think the game's going to be a blowout. I
Okay.
think UConn's going to probably win, but I think it's going to be really close. I think it's a toss-up game.
That's a lot of points for a title
A lot
game.
of points
It
for a
is.
title
You
game
rarely see more than three.
against as veteran a team as you could possibly have that didn't get to the championship game by accident. So
Yeah. No,
I
they
expect,
didn't.
you know, the only time we've ever seen a mid-major in the championship game was Butler. They lost both times, but they were both really close.
Yeah.
But the first Duke game was Gordon Hayward. He
Yes.
missed a half-court shot by this
Exactly.
much that
Yep.
would have won it.
So not that that necessarily means
Yeah.
anything, but San Diego State's been a great team all year.
They have
I got
been.
every reason to believe they'll stay within 7 points.
And
Should be
they're the
good.
number one three-point shooting defense in the country.
Right.
And in the championship game we saw with the women yesterday,
Yeah.
three-pointers is really the sliding scale factor in all of basketball now. And if you
Especially
could
college, though.
defend
Yeah.
the
The
three,
shorter shot.
it could be a close game even if you're not necessarily in.
The finish to the Florida Atlantic San Diego
Ooh,
State
baby.
game was all-time
Remarkable.
great.
Yeah.
Whenever the ball, they didn't lead much. Whenever
No.
the ball is in the air and you see the horn go, that's, to me, that's what
yeah.
college basketball, that is
Yeah.
the picture of college basketball.
Well, the first thing you think of is the Leitner shot, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's the,
yeah.
that's the
well, the Villanova shot a couple of years ago.
At the
Right,
same,
but I mean-
same stadium.
Same
that this
play-
one happened.
yeah,
Yep.
same
right,
place.
right. So Yeah, I mean, it was pretty remarkable. So
It really was. It was great.
So I expect that hopefully we'll get a great game tonight.
And
I
on
think we
that
will.
buzzer beater, 2 things real quick. A, I've made that same shot like 55 times in my backyard. That little one dribble to the left mid-range jump shot
Yeah.
with the buzzer, in your head countdown.
Sure.
I'm just saying, I've made that shot a bunch. And
Did
2,
you ever make one when it counted? Did you ever hit a walk-off buzzer beater?
in a summer league game, not in a. My high school team
Summer
sucked.
league?
My high school team sucked.
It was
What do you mean,
bad.
like summer league, like
AAU type?
It was like a high school summer league.
Okay.
But I was at the smallest public high school in New Jersey. And
Right.
you just play teams in your area.
Sure.
Not necessarily
Yeah.
size-wise.
Right.
So we got destroyed.
Yeah.
Very few chances.
New
to
Jersey
make
high
buzzer
school
beaters.
sports can be very lopsided.
Well, I think in Ohio, and I'm still learning Ohio high school, it's based on size. So you may travel farther, but you're
Correct.
only playing
New
schools
Jersey
your
is
size.
like New York, right? Public-private. Isn't that the only?
Ex-
Well,
Exactly.
there is a public class. I mean, there's a private class, but there's also size class too.
For the state playoffs, but not
the
for
state
like
playoffs,
your
right, but-
conference.
No,
So
conference. You could be in with a powerhouse team. Small schools are often.
Right.
So my high school had 270 kids, 7 through 12. It was the smallest public high school in New Jersey.
What was your graduating class?
72 and it was the biggest one in 50
Oh, my
years.
God.
My brother was 5 years younger with 40 kids. And
Wow.
we were.
My graduating class was over 1,000.
I'll give you real quick the 30-second New Jersey geography. Atlantic Cons and Highlands made this one town. We're on the beach, so
Yeah.
the old people in town didn't want to send us an extra 3 minutes to go to 2 major high schools. So
Right.
they built us our own little tiny high school. We played Middletown North and South, which were, no joke, 12 minutes from my house and 15 minutes from my house. Each had between 1,500 and 2,000 kids. We played them twice a year. If you
And
thought
got
we had
mopped.
any chance of beating them in any sport,
Yeah, never.
you were wrong. I don't think we beat them in any sport besides softball once in my 4 years of high school. So just we got crushed. So no.
All
but
right.
real quick on the buzzer beater.
Yeah.
When you make a shot in midair, when the buzzer goes off, and you don't have to replay it, you don't have to go to the clock to
Yeah.
check. Is
It
there
was
a second?
definitively good.
You don't have
Yeah,
to go
yeah.
throw the long inbounds pass with 0.1 on the clock. Just it makes a buzzer beater so much better. So
It didn't steal the
Okay,
drama.
everything.
You're right.
Exactly.
I hate when you have everybody sitting around for 3 minutes
holding their breath.
and they don't know, and then you get a muted celebration.
And you
That
get the
didn't
mute-
happen.
And you got to put 0.1 on the clock because
Yeah.
it technically went through it. It just
Right.
It,
It
was
was perfect.
It was the perfect kind of buzzer beater.
Yeah, it was the Hollywood ending to a story.
Yes.
It
Yeah.
really was.
Yeah,
Great,
but-
and congrats
but-
to San Diego State.
By the way, this weekend I spent time with my wife. We had some things we had to do, and then watching sports, and of course preparing for the start of Little League season. And I just
Which is when, like a couple weeks?
well, practice starts Wednesday this
Oh,
week.
great,
nice.
great.
And but the games actually start the second week of May. So, but I found out like this so the third graders I don't know because
Right.
they're all I know all the fourth grade kids.
Right.
But the third graders I don't know, and so I mentioned here the other day that I found out that one of my third graders, his older brother, was the best kid in the league last year.
Oh,
So I'm
nice.
like, that's promising. Then I spoke.
drafting.
I was emailing his parents, and his parents told me he's playing AAU basketball.
Oh,
so the
he's
fact
a-
that
he's
he's
a
playing
baller.
AAU
Yeah,
basketball
you got
in
an
third
athlete.
grade.
Yeah.
You got an
This
athlete.
kid's
You
gonna
got-
be
you got a
probably
kid.
Now,
really
was that a
good.
blind luck draw thing?
It
or
was to be. I can't take credit for it. It was
Okay.
blind luck.
Well,
I'm giving
we're
full
gonna give you
credit.
credit.
I'm
Yeah,
giving you
yeah.
credit.
All right. Over the weekend, the
Yeah.
women settled their championship game. Earl, this game had. I can't remember another time where the women's game didn't have at least one number one seed. Typically in the women's seed, which is part of the criticism against it,
Right.
chalk rules.
Right.
Not this year.
No.
Not this year.
There's
Not to the extent that the men.
No.
But it was a wild tournament. And it
Yes.
was really, once Iowa knocked off the behemoth South Carolina
Right.
in the semifinal, the game lost a lot of its luster, to be perfectly honest.
Well, that was the champ. I mean, that essentially
It was,
the
it was,
championship.
but then LSU stood up.
But then it
and-
wasn't.
So, Earl, a lot going on in this game, including the officiating. Whenever a game is trending for its officiating,
That's not good.
I was going to flip over, watch the second half. Because I saw so much traction on how the refs ruined the game, I didn't bother.
I'll be curious to see what the ratings were for the Final Four in the championship game, women's versus men's. It's the one sport.
Yeah, but they never come close.
Well, no, I'm not saying they're going to beat it, but I'm saying it's the one sport where the gap is, and especially this year, will not be crazy like other sports.
Perhaps, but
be.
it was in the first 2 rounds.
Yeah.
For every minute of the women's tournament that was viewed,
Yeah.
36 minutes of the men were
Right.
viewed.
And
Gambling has a lot to do
gambling,
with that.
also the advantage of it being on CBS, some of the games.
Right, but all
versus-
the games were on. Well, a lot of the games were on True and TBS.
That's true, too.
So and ESPN
Yeah.
carries all of the women games on 1 and 2.
But you can argue that the quality of the women's game.
I'm
better.
with you on that. No,
Is better.
I don't know that I want to say better.
It's a better quality the way they play is better.
Yeah,
I
it's
like
a better
the style
quality
better.
brand of basketball.
And you
than
know the
college
players
Is it
more.
easier for you to watch the women's game
I
than the
definitely
men?
think it is.
Oh, wow. No kidding.
I am bored by the men because, for the most part, now, it's not the case really this year in the Final Four, but most of the best players in the men's play 1 year and they're gone.
Sure.
You don't get to develop. I think, like, on a local fan level, especially in certain markets, it's easier to connect with the women's teams because, and by the way, there's Caitlin Clark from.
She's coming back next year.
She's going to come back. Why? Part of the reason she's coming. I mean, they can leave after their junior year.
She can't. She's not old enough. She
Yeah,
has to come
you have
back.
an age requirement.
But
that she
anyway,
doesn't meet.
even for the women anyway, she'll make more money, I was reading, in NIL than she would in the WNBA.
way more.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yes.
way more. She's
So-
going to clean up in NIL.
So
now.
there's no incentive for the great players to leave early, and so you can see.
Earl, what did you notice?
So one of the things that really stood out to me, first of all, Angel Reese, Caitlin Clark, I think are the faces of women's college
No doubt.
basketball.
Yeah, no doubt.
And I think going into next year with both of them coming back, I think they're going to go to a next level. But a lot of the what I saw on Twitter and Instagram was Angel Reese taunted Caitlin Clark towards the end of the game with the "You can't see me." If we can
John
take
Cena.
tag board full, first we're going to show Caitlin Clark. This was the other day.
This was after Louisville in the Elite Eight, by the way.
By the way, even before this, during the game, she tried to humiliate one of the South Carolina players.
This was the week before.
Yeah, no, this
I'm
is
sorry.
This is the Elite Eight.
Week
The South
before
Carolina
the
game.
Elite
By
Eight.
the way, there was a lot of talk about tried to humiliate
Yes.
by waving her off.
I don't think
Yeah.
she was trying to
I
humiliate
didn't think
disagree
it
with
was.
that, Jay.
I don't think she tried to humiliate her at all.
What else was she doing?
Well,
it was
you
the
see guys
whole-
do that all the time. Shoot it.
Yeah,
I'm
but
going to
it-
let you shoot that.
That's trying to embarrass somebody.
No,
It
it's
is.
not.
I don't think she was intentionally embarrassing that player.
She went
I
like,
was-
you're not
yeah.
going to shoot.
Exactly. But
Really?
Iowa's
She was
entire-
wrong.
She
I mean,
wanted her to shoot.
No, she was right.
Well, she was right in that case, but that girl, I can't remember her name, that woman,
So here's
made
Angel
some
Reese's
big baskets
response.
later.
She did. I mean, that one girl, Jackson, I forget her first name, 25.
Yeah.
Was 7 of 9 from the floor, so she did make some shots.
Right,
But
right.
Iowa's entire game plan that
Yeah.
game was make outside shots. If
Make
you
'em.
if you beat us
And-
with outside shots,
and
we will let you win.
They knew they were going to be out rebounded 2-1. That game plan, by the way, I was stunned that Iowa won that game. I was stunned that they won because, to your point, they said shoot all you want from outside, and they also knew that they were not going to get defensive rebounds.
So they put 5 in the paint to help rebound.
They did. They tried, but they were still out rebounded. I think 45-26 or something. It was crazy how much they were
Yeah.
out rebounded by.
Yeah.
If you look at that stat alone, that's a double-digit loss every time.
Yeah.
Yeah, the difference is Iowa has Caitlin Clark, who put on the single most magical NCAA tournament run in the history
Right.
of basketball.
Men or
And
women?
The numbers back it up. You guys ready for this?
Yeah.
Or I made the graphic if you want to pull it up.
Men or women, by the way?
Both.
Yeah,
100
that's what I'm saying.
She had Caitlin Clark, 191 points in the tournament. That is an NCAA record.
Did you see the stat?
Men or women.
She scored more points in the tournament than Iowa's football team scored all
That
season.
was
right.
that was Big Ten tournament plus NCAA.
Oh, I thought it was
tournament.
just NCAA
Just
tournament.
postseason play.
Okay.
She had over
Still, can you imagine?
in just the NCAA
Was it
tournament.
7 games?
In 6 games in the NCAA tournament, 191 points. That beat Glenn Rice, who was second, or now is second. He had the record.
Okay.
Her 60 assists are the most for a woman in any NCAA tournament. 61 by Mark Wade in 1987 is the tournament record. She had the first 40-point triple-double in March Madness history, men
or
or
women,
women.
which is
first
really
player
impressive.
ever, men or women, to score back-to-back 40-point games. Then she made 8 threes in the championship versus LSU, which was a
Yeah,
championship
to me
game
that doesn't
record.
matter because they were getting blown out.
She made 8 threes also against
Yeah.
Louisville in the Elite
Well,
Eight, too.
you know what
Yeah.
it reminded me of, and then when I wasn't tallying it in my head, but it seemed to me that she's been involved in everything.
She's
At
their
the
whole
end of the
offense, yeah.
game when they did the interview, I think it was Tracy Wolfson that did the interview, astutely pointed out she either scored or assisted on every single basket in the fourth quarter. It reminded me of the LeBron James takeover of the Pistons playoff game when it was LeBron against everybody
Yeah,
else.
right.
I felt bad for her teammates because her teammates really were just standing around watching her. It was incredible.
That's how they play, though. And
I know it is.
That
I know it
Iowa
is.
team has played together for 13 years. That's the same AAU team in Iowa
Yeah.
that they've grown up together. So they are accustomed to watching Caitlin Clark's greatness.
Yes.
But also playing off it. And
Yeah.
do I
Yeah.
think
They need another big
They're
superstar,
also
though.
have bad taste in music. We know that too because we saw the video of them singing together.
that was high
I
school?
did not see any music
Now,
videos, thank
listen,
God.
does
I don't want to.
anybody have a problem with Angel Reese talking trash? Because I have zero
hell
problem.
no.
I got a problem with
No.
anybody that has a problem with it. I
I'm
don't
with
want to
you.
see
Well,
anything.
wait a minute. Why would anybody have a problem with
Yeah.
anybody talking trash?
This is
Because you know society today. You know how it works.
Well, I guess Bull had a problem with Caitlin.
I didn't.
I thought you said you did.
Well, she was trying to embarrass her, but I don't care. They're adults.
Oh, okay, good. I thought you were
Yeah.
against that.
No, I don't
was
care.
In the moment, I didn't see it live, obviously. I wasn't watching it live, but I did see it. And I thought, that's a baller move.
Yeah.
Go ahead, shoot the three. I'm daring you to shoot that three.
Listen,
They do it to Russell Westbrook every game.
All the time.
Every game.
Yeah,
You know-
and I like that. I like that swagger, especially in basketball.
Yeah.
I think you need some of that because it's a physical game, especially that game. They were physical. And
Yeah.
her saying, take the three, I loved it.
I don't want to see. I mean, listen, I don't want to see kids do this. I'm not going to teach my third
No,
and fourth
I wouldn't
graders
either.
this kind of. I think overall trash talking is kind of classless across the board.
I'm not a fan of it.
I'm not a
but
fan of it, but
I don't
that's
mind it in
part of the
basketball.
sport.
Yeah, I don't mind it in
That's part
basketball.
of the sport.
It is.
That's what players do. Anybody actually complaining? I was told everybody's complaining from Iowa. Who was
She was
complaining?
called
There-
classless.
Who?
was?
Just like random
Angel
fans?
Reese. A lot of people.
but who?
national
Anybody of
reporters
note?
called her classless.
I mean, like Keith Olbermann and like some national media members were like,
Who?
this is.
Call them out by name. I want to know who it was.
I mean, give me
because
2
if it's
minutes,
just
but, like-
random Iowa fans, they can go to the
No,
field and F
I mean-
off. I mean, I don't care.
Keith Olbermann for one.
Well, F him.
First of all, for reference, Keith Olbermann once said of women's basketball, he said, I'll never watch it. And then the reporter said, what if a championship game broke out in your living room? He said, I'd call the police. Like, he has no use for the sport.
So, I mean-
and I don't really put a lot of stock in what he says anyhow. And first of all, like, I thought both players lived up to their reputations.
Yeah.
They're ballers, and they know it. I've got no problem with that. By the way, we see that in the NBA every night.
Yeah.
Steph Curry had the perfect quote for this. Do you remember in 2019 when Steph Curry did the little shimmy after he
Yeah.
hit three in the playoffs? And then in Game 3 of the Western Conference Finals, Chris Paul hit a shot in Steph Curry's face and shimmied right back
Yes.
at him.
Yeah.
And they were asked.
How'd that series turn out?
The Warriors won.
Yes.
And someone asked Steph Curry straight up,
Yeah.
point and blank, how'd you feel about Chris Paul doing your celebration in your face? And Steph Curry goes, when I shimmied, I knew I'd have to be ready to accept anyone else shimmying in my face.
Hey, we
And
made
you
gotta
a-
love it.
If you're going to talk the talk, you got to walk
You
the
gotta
walk. And
take
guess
it.
what? And I'm all
Yeah.
I'm pro bat flips. I'm pro touchdown celebrations. I'm pro if you poster somebody and you want to taunt them a little bit, do it. But if
I
it
always
happens
say, though,
back to
the one
you,
thing I do
just
say
be
is
ready for the
Keep
reciprocation.
in mind what the scoreboard reads. Like,
of course.
when
Yeah,
I
yeah.
don't have, I'm for the big bat flip, like when Joey Batista did it, it was usually the big home run, and I got all of that. But what I don't like is when you're down 8-1 and you hit a
Fair.
solo
Yeah, of
shot
course. That's
and you
stupid.
flip it and you take 20 seconds
Yeah,
around
that's
the bases.
ridiculous.
You're probably
Well,
going to
same
wear
thing with
one
a
the next
touchdown
time out.
celebration when you're getting crushed by
Yeah,
3 touchdowns.
Yeah,
I
it's-
don't want Eastern
but-
Michigan celebrating
but
in
that's not-
dramatic fashion
No,
against Ohio
right,
State when they're
right.
down
Don't be
74-10.
tone deaf. But in a national championship game,
Go
quite
talk your talk.
frankly,
Go do your
I don't
thing.
think there's anything a player. Well, I shouldn't say that. I could be offended, but it's going to take a lot. It's going to be way
it would have to
more
be beyond
than
extreme.
waving someone off to shoot a three. Or in Reese's case, I thought Reese was, from everything that I saw and read, I thought that she was well within her bounds to do everything she did. What was interesting to me was I read a pregame story how LSU was offended by that move against South Carolina.
That's
using anything you can to motivate yourself.
I was telling Earl before, people were like, oh, well, Caitlin Clark did this to LSU, so LSU has the right to do it back.
She didn't do it to LSU.
Caitlin Clark did nothing to LSU, and that doesn't
Yeah.
matter.
Yeah,
It doesn't matter.
Do you
It
remember
doesn't
the Michael
matter.
Jordan story?
Who is complaining? I need to know who is complaining about this because they're an idiot. I want to call them out individually. Are you guys? You guys told me there was complaints about this. Is it just random people on Twitter?
Yes.
It's
as far as I saw.
it's
Well, F
random.
all of that.
It's random check marks, and not.
But here's
like
the thing about
Twitter blue
Twitter.
check
Like,
marks,
guys,
but it's,
we have these Twitter discussions all the time. How
Twitter's a small fraction
they've
of
been,
real life, yeah.
They've been going on in newsrooms forever. We thought we had a snapshot of what Twitter actually was. Now we have a much clearer picture of what it is. And what it is far less, the impact of what Twitter is far less than we even thought it was, which we thought it was small before. It's even smaller to the point where the company is valued half what it was when Elon Musk overpaid for it.
was that 6 months ago?
Yeah,
Less than
now,
6 months ago.
yeah. So the thing of it is, understand this. 9 out of 10 Americans will not see, send, or read a tweet every single month.
Yeah, it's amazing. We
We
obsess
tend to
about
look
it
at
like it's the whole thing.
And especially in sports,
Yeah.
because it is perfect for watching sports
Absolutely.
events.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Because that's the last bastion of live TV. Now,
Yeah.
when network television was still big, the trending topics would often be the television show that was airing from 10 to 11.
Right.
That was Grey's Anatomy. I remember when we were studying Twitter metrics a lot
Yeah.
at ESPN.
Oh, God,
Grey's,
terrible
I
show.
never watched a single episode, but I will tell you this.
Yeah.
It moved the meter like
Sure.
sporting events because that's the social event to talk about live. That's the social place
Yes.
to go for live events.
So the
Succession
bottom
and
line
Last of
is
Us is the
anybody that complains about what's her name, Angel Reese,
Angel Reese.
Yeah.
is a loser. They ignore them. It's
Yes.
they are irrelevant. I don't care.
We
She can
tend to
talk
put
whatever
too
she-
much stock in it, is
Yes.
my point.
Yes.
You know, if we see something is trending on Twitter,
Yeah.
in all likelihood, that's about 300,000. If it's the number one trending topic, it's about
Yeah.
300,000 engagements. It's not like, you know, the thing that we get caught up in is like, well, everybody was saying.
Yeah.
To your point, it sounded like it, right?
Well, that's what Mike and Earl told me, that everybody was complaining about it. And I'm like, well,
I mean, it's
Mike
there are
talked out his
names-
ass, said it was everybody, and now he's got nobody except for Keith Olbermann.
I
And
mean,
I don't give a rat's
but
ass what
it's
Keith
other
Olbermann
guys
has to
that-
say.
a lot of
Who?
the
Colin Cowherd? F
no,
him too.
I don't want to play
Well,
the video
look,
here
I don't
through
know,
my
I'm just-
phone.
You know, here's
But
the
it is-
thing.
what was it?
Iowa
What's that?
fans were probably pissed.
F all of them.
But
Who
who cares?
Yeah.
They're on the losing
What-
side.
did-
Whenever
No,
it's a team.
it's not. It's
Did any of Iowa's players or coaches complain about it?
no, and
Okay.
and Caitlin Clark. But
Yeah.
I'm trying to be very selective with my words here. And Earl, I'm not saying back me up, but just
There's a
No, I got you,
there's a
man. Go ahead.
racist tinge to it.
Yes.
Fine, we get it.
Yes.
We know
Of
that.
course there
Of course,
is.
that's what it's all about.
yes.
Iowa's all white. Do they have any black girls on their team?
Well, I don't think it's not that. Once again,
They're an
I'm
all-white
I'm
team.
trying to
They
choose-
play in an all-white state.
I'm
We
try-
get it.
I'm trying to choose my words
So,
very
any-
carefully.
All right, so
here.
boy, let me get in here.
Yeah.
It wasn't just that.
They're
so
racist.
I heard people talking about Caitlin Clark. They felt like she was being disrespectful when she was waving off the girls from South Carolina.
I saw that
A lot of
criticism,
people
too.
feel like these two young ladies, their trash talk is being very disrespectful.
That's
so,
nonsense.
So Jay, to your point about
that's
the waving off
nonsense.
the shooter,
Yeah.
Isaac Okoro gets waved off every game. Nobody calls that disrespectful.
It's
so
not
how's what
disrespectful.
Caitlin Clark did disrespectful?
It's not. Yeah, my
smart
thing was,
basketball.
First of all, this was a headline that I read.
Yeah.
Caitlin Clark disrespects LSU ahead of title game. What?
I don't understand that. It wasn't LSU.
I
How's
read
that
the
possible?
article. I'm thinking, wow, she must have talked after the
Yeah.
game. She must have said something that I missed.
What were they referencing?
That she waved off South Carolina's shooter and
I
that
don't-
LSU was offended by it.
I don't understand.
Well, it was like the Michael Jordan,
by the way-
Damian Bradford story where he made up in his own head.
Yes, well, that's what I
That's
said
fine. Whatever
earlier.
you want to
Exactly.
use
You
as
can
motivation, who
manufacture
cares?
whatever you
Yeah.
want to,
There was
to
no
dish your opponent.
It doesn't even matter. Like, you don't think she dissed her by doing this.
Of course not.
I think it's a diss, but I don't care.
Yeah, I
don't care.
I don't even think it's a diss. It's like,
but it doesn't
it's
matter.
a playground move that happens 1,000 times.
Well, we may be used to it. It's still a diss. You're saying I don't respect you as a player. That's
is it a diss when a pitcher to a hitter? And I've seen this. It doesn't happen very often.
Yeah.
But I've actually seen a pitcher go like this, which is when you're warming up to let
Yeah.
your catcher know what pitch you're going to throw.
Right.
There's glove movements.
Yeah, fastball,
You can go
curveball.
down, that's a curveball.
Yeah.
You can go like this, that's a fastball. You
So
can
you're
pull
telling
your
them what
glove
the
back.
pitch is.
I've seen it. I don't know when the last time it was I saw it in the big leagues, but I've seen guys in college do it all the time.
Yeah.
The pitcher will stand there and literally go like this. Now, as a hitter, I've had guys do that to me. I'm saying, oh.
Right. It's disrespectful.
Yeah,
but
but
it doesn't
also
matter.
it's also a head game, and here's why.
Yeah.
He's not going to tell me what he's going to throw.
Yeah.
He thinks I.
Right,
he thinks I'm going to buy that he's giving me a fastball, and here comes
But
the
when
hook.
Caitlin Clark does this, like,
yeah,
I'm not
that's
going to pay attention.
that's clearly a. Go ahead, take it.
Right.
Take it.
It is insulting the player, but I don't care.
I don't either. I don't
I don't
and I don't
care.
even think it's insulting. And here's the thing. You know what I would do as the player? Shoot it.
And she did not
make
on that.
it,
Not
and then
that
the whole
play,
time you're
She
walking
did
back
but
down
she
court.
did later, and she shot great for the most part in that game.
I do this 3 or 4 times a week when I play basketball.
Right.
Yeah,
If,
it's
if I
just
get
a thing.
switched on someone who can't shoot and he's out,
You can have
right,
it.
I'm just
So
sitting
you
back
are
there.
saying they
sometimes-
can't shoot, I don't trust you. You are
Yeah.
insulting that player.
Yeah.
But it doesn't matter.
No,
Tough,
it's
tough shit.
I don't
It's
even
the same
think it's
thing.
insulting. Oftentimes it's the truth.
Listen,
Like, you're not a three-point shooter. If you want to take that shot, take that shot.
It doesn't have to be just three-point shooting. It happened when we talked about my men's league game last Sunday.
Yes.
First possession.
Yes.
Guy waves the screen off because he wants to go ISO on me.
Right. He's insulting you.
It's the same premise.
But you
We
stick
talked
it
about
to him.
that. You're right.
I mean, I'm not like, let's fight because of that. It's
No,
like,
of course not.
It's part of sports. It is what it is.
Yeah, it is.
And he was
it is
wrong.
what it is.
It's
So I got a
irrelevant.
question to put a poll on.
Anybody ripping Angel Reese but not ripping Caitlin Clark is an ass.
Yes.
And
Facts.
it's irrelevant what they have to say.
I think both did the same thing.
Essentially,
And
it
it
doesn't
is
matter.
all good to me.
It's all good.
Like, I don't see any foul
To the
here.
victor go the spoils.
That's
Here's
right.
Here's
Win.
the bottom line.
Win.
These women, they're not girls, they're women. They're badass.
No.
These are great players. They can handle themselves. They don't need a bunch of losers on Twitter saying, you can't disrespect her.
Right, I
yes,
know.
you can.
It's
They're just as tough as the guys are.
Disrespecting to the
F them.
player to
yes,
say that.
that's right. They
I have
can
a
handle
question, though,
themselves.
on the game. I did not watch the game. I intended to flip over and watch some of the third and fourth quarter if it was close.
Yeah.
I guess it was. People were saying, now this might be hyperbole. This is the worst officiated championship game I've ever seen. What was going on with the officials?
They just are calling ticky-tack fouls.
So both stars were in foul trouble early.
Angel reset most of the first half.
Yeah, see,
and
nobody
then-
wants to see that.
And Caitlin
Terrible.
Clark had 2 fouls. She got a terrible technical foul, too.
I did see a lot of traction on a technical foul that she got because she
ter-
didn't return the ball to the official in a timely manner or something.
She threw it behind her back.
Stay out
to
of the way,
It was stupid.
Yeah,
The refs
don't
tried to make it
become
about
the
themselves.
story. And
No.
it sounds like, unfortunately,
Yeah.
in what could have been a really nice story, it sounds like the story
Yeah.
became
Yeah.
the officiating.
And
But-
granted, the officials screwed LSU over more in the sense that Reese had 2 fouls. She didn't play the whole first half. LSU still won.
Yeah.
Right.
And kudos to LSU. They were the better team yesterday. They deserved to win, take nothing away from them, even though Clark had, I think she had 30 and 9 again. Like, she was unbelievable in her own right.
Yeah.
LSU was a better team. They deserved to win. The officials didn't really change that.
But
It
they-
actually
but they
affected
tainted
LSU
it,
more.
it
But it's just,
feels like.
it's obnoxious when you go into a game, and especially in college where you only get 5 fouls opposed to the
Right.
NBA where you get 6.
I don't think they tainted if it was crappy calls both ways. Because
it was crappy both ways.
So-
yeah,
It
but
just takes
nobody
the
wants
star
to see
players
that. Like
out.
for a
Nobody wants to
championship
see that.
game, you want to see the best players on each side.
By the way, can
and if
somebody-
they're sitting with a towel around their neck most of the game, that's,
Maybe Mike can explain. Besides her bad taste in clothes,
Yes.
which it's hard for me to say because I don't have great taste in clothes.
Kim
Why does
Mulkey.
everybody hate this Kim, whatever her name is? Why? What is so awful about her? Is she
Kim who?
Kim Mulkey.
the coach of LSU?
No,
Everybody hates her.
listen, she wins.
Oh, they do?
Yeah.
Why does
she's
everybody
not
hate her? What's
not
the thing with her?
She wins. She likes to make it a lot about herself as opposed to she has a knack. And listen, you win.
But
I
doesn't
don't care.
Gino do that?
They
I mean,
all do,
Gino
yeah,
makes
yeah.
it all about himself.
Mulkey also would not at any point say bring Brittany Griner home. Like, she was asked about it
she
many,
took
many
a lot
times,
of heat over that.
And she would
She still
completely-
hasn't talked to Brittany Griner.
Has not, and Griner won her 2 championships at Baylor. She's the best player she's ever coached. She was
Oh.
the catalyst to her becoming a powerhouse at Baylor, and
Yeah.
never once, even when she was asked directly, said like, "Hey, let's bring BG back." Or
Yeah,
anything
I don't
along those
understand
lines.
that. And I did see a lot of hate on that. Like,
Yeah.
Okay.
just
Yeah, I
remember,
didn't know
folks, to this day,
She's never
Kim,
never
whatever her
That's
name
pretty
is,
messed
has
up.
never reached out to talk. Something happened.
Never
between
reached
the two
out,
of
yeah,
them.
they-
There's a beef there.
There's
There's
no
a beef.
excuse
and
for
it
that.
runs deep.
Yeah.
Yeah,
She wouldn't
she's-
even come out publicly and say, "Bring her home."
never,
Yeah,
never said
well,
anything
she's an ass for that then.
Go ahead, Earl. Let's put a ball
All
on
right,
this.
so I got a
and then go
quick
Guardians.
question before I do our poll results, and then we're going to move on to the Guardians. We talk a lot about Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese. We both know they put on this year, had a great tournament. They both will be back. Is the future of women's college basketball brighter today than it was at the start of the March Madness tournament?
Hell yeah! Listen, Caitlin Clark, despite not winning the championship, is a household name to basketball fans now. Men, women.
I think so.
I mean, Bull, you don't watch college basketball much at all. Outside
No.
of Cheyenne Sellers, could you have named one women's basketball player before this tournament started?
No.
And now, at the minimum,
I
you could
know
name
Caitlin
2.
Clark. I don't know who the best player in men's basketball is. I don't know who the best player is.
Do you know who won the
Well,
nation's player?
the Edie guy from Purdue, right?
Yeah.
One.
That Dopper?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's the best player?
I know.
He won the National Player of
Well,
the Year
that's the
award.
state of men's basketball right now. I'll say this about women. For years, every year there's a massive research project on sports popularity as it pertains in a pecking order. So in other words, football, when it became the most popular sport in like the late 90s, has not relinquished its spot, and it won't.
Right.
But I always used to look at every year we got this huge readout of all this research and
How
what
does
it
this
means.
come? Where does it come from?
ESPN's internal research does it.
But how do they figure it out? What do they use?
So it's a massive research project where they go to all 50 states and they They do market research.
Okay.
First of all, they want to know amongst diehard fans and then casual
So
fans.
it's pretty
there's
in-depth.
two looks.
Yeah.
But for years, we were told soccer's coming. Soccer's coming.
I've been hearing that since I was a kid.
You know what that reminds me of? You better learn metrics.
Yeah, right.
No, I'm good. Really, I'm
not
good.
coming.
Now, soccer has grown in popularity.
Sure.
In fact, you'll see sometimes this is a popular line that people will say. It's the fastest growing sport in America. Well, it used to traditionally garner 1% of respondents' favorite sport.
Now it's 5.
So now it's 2.
Yeah.
So it's doubled.
Yeah,
wow, it's gone nuts. So, but the actual grass holds footing that it's taken has never spread to widespread popularity.
No.
It's still
And it
8th or
won't.
9th,
And it
will always be there. We used to track women's basketball and women's softball because there are really interesting phenomenons when it comes to women's sports.
Yep.
They will watch games. Women's softball is wildly popular
The College
on ESPN.
World Series.
The College World Series is very popular. However, it doesn't translate to moving the needle on the popularity of the sport. It's typically watched because it's the sporting event that's on right now. So there's got to be something on. Oftentimes when it's on, there's nothing else on opposite women's softball. And it does a good number, relatively speaking. It doesn't come close to doing a number like Major League Baseball, although some of the championship and tournament games do pretty good numbers. But what was fascinating to us was, because we used it for two different reasons. One, the studio division, and one for the remote division. Remote is the production of live events. You're trying to figure out what to put on TV, so you want to put on things that people watch. But there are 2 sports that never let us down when it came to not transferring interest to studio. NASCAR, people love to watch it live. The second we would talk about it, our minute-by-minute number would go like this.
Yeah.
Every time. Yep. Same thing with women's softball and women's basketball. So people will watch the event live if it's a big event, but they do not want to hear analysis of it. They don't want to hear people talk about it. It is actually repellent. So obviously that comes into play for how we would stack our shows. Don't put that stuff in there. It's death. Fantasy football, by the way, same thing. Fantasy football is one of those things that people love. They will tell you they love it. They play it. They're addicted to it. The number of people that will tune in to see specifically fantasy sports programming is very, very tiny.
They have a
like
show
4
on
shows
ESPN
now, though, on ESPN.
Many shows.
Yeah.
So now there are.
I wonder if it's changed in recent years.
I don't know, because I haven't seen that data in 6 years, so it's possible it had. But even when I last saw it, fantasy football was wildly popular. But when we would talk about it in our shows, the numbers would plummet.
Oh, we got the poll results, and I think
Yeah.
based off what Jay said, they have a star like Caitlin Clark. That could be the transcendent factor. Poll results, Earl, what's up?
Yes, we do got the poll results, and every time we throw an ultimate poll up, it's always brought to you by PCC Air Force. Looking for a job with career advancement and great benefits? Well, PCC Air Force is a leading manufacturer in Northeast Ohio. And all locations of PCC Airfoil in Eastlake, Menor, and Wickliffe, and Minerva are hiring for all positions starting at $18 an hour and up. Please get a full benefit package, paid time off, and a signing bonus. Apply online at precast.com/careers to learn more. We asked the poll, do you have a problem with Angel Reese trash talking? We got 126 votes, 79% no, 20% yes.
Those people are losers. I will choose to ignore them.
Yeah. Take trash sports. Take trash talk out of sports.
Yeah.
Imagine how
Yeah, that's
boring that would be.
ridiculous.
Sports are an emotional event.
You
Whether you're
better
playing,
feel like
watching,
she got in her face and did something. Like,
I mean,
Yeah,
she did follow her around the court doing it, but I still have no issue with it.
she
Still
didn't
have no
touch her.
issue. No.
Whatever. Grow
No
up.
issues.
It's
It's part of the game.
Suck
And
it
you know
up.
what?
Part of
Like
the game.
when she did that initially, it's just like Josh Naylor. Josh Naylor, when he goes to New York,
Oh my God.
every time for
Yeah.
the rest of his career, unless
Yeah.
he's traded to the Yankees,
Rock the baby. Yeah.
rock the baby.
Yep.
That's part of the deal.
And by the way, I hated that in the moment when he did it
I know you did.
Yeah,
because it wasn't. What was the score?
Yeah, it was right.
They're down, 5-1 at the time?
Yeah,
I think it made
That was
42.
very stupid.
What are you doing?
Yeah.
What are you doing? That's know the score.
Yeah.
Know the situation.
Situational
and also,
awareness.
understand this. You want to do that? That's cute. Whose move was that?
John
Cena?
Cena. You can't
Cena
see
came
me.
out and co-signed it. Of course he
Yeah.
did. It puts him in the news. He loved it.
Yeah.
Everybody loved it. You know what? Be prepared to have that done to you.
That's fine. Yeah.
And I think
That's
she
part of
is.
the
And
deal.
Caitlin Clark did it against Louisville. She did it back. That's how sports
That's
works.
it.
That's how
That's
it goes.
All
Let's
right,
talk Guardians. Let's do
Let's
Guardians.
speaking of the Guardians.
Before we talk
guys.
Guardians,
Yeah. Go ahead, Earl.
I heard Stephen Kwan had a bunch of Built Bars this week.
He
And
did.
that's why he was able to drive
I
home
bet he
6
did.
runs. Use promo code LOCKEDON15 at Built.com. Shout out to Stephen Kwan, man. Guardians take 3 or 4, Jay.
How about it?
Well,
So,
3 in a row since we've been last.
3 in a row since we last talked.
And now get to play Oakland, so get off to a hopefully
So
really good
let's
start.
Two of
play
one
an
of my Oakland
NHL
bets, by
game
the
here.
way.
You know how after the NHL game,
Yeah.
3 stars
Yep.
after every game?
Yeah.
I want Bulls 3 stars from the
the
Guardians
weekend.
series. Yeah, for the series. And yours too.
okay.
Okay, thank you. I was going to say.
No.
I'm
Oh, I got
offended
to
already.
think about it now. Well,
I'm not sure you watched all 3.
all right.
If-
Here's
You see these notes? Look at these Guardian notes. If I'm sitting out here, I'm coming prepared. Don't you dare think
All right,
I'm
well, you
prepared.
didn't know you were going to be here, so I
That
didn't
is
know
true. That
I
is
didn't
true.
know if you were going to
Fair.
watch or not.
I mean, the first 3 guys that came to mind, although I feel like I'm forgetting somebody, are Quan, Savali, and Clase.
Okay.
Yep.
Am I?
Here's why I'm doing this exercise.
I'll mix it
I
up
mean,
for you.
Zunino had a big game
That-
yesterday.
he's
the
on
reason
mine.
I'm doing it
Yeah.
is because I always do that for
'Cause I'm
games in
thinking
the
about
series.
it.
There's 5 guys you could throw in there.
Yeah, there is.
There's 5 guys.
Do we want to start with Zunino real quick?
I mean,
Well, Zunino was big yesterday.
Well, what's
that was-
interesting about the starting pitching over the weekend was like the whole 4-game series. So Bieber was phenomenal.
Lights
Awesome.
out.
Then Gaddis was horrible.
Yep.
Then Savali was incredible.
Yep.
And then Quantrill was bad.
Yeah, he was.
So the bullpen, again, outside of Karinchak was bad the first time and made us sweat the second time. The rest of the bullpen has been completely lights out so far through 4 games.
You want the numbers?
Go ahead.
Real
Yeah.
quick.
Yeah.
Against Seattle, the starters,
Yeah.
21 in the third innings pitch, 8 earned runs for a 3.38 ERA. The
Well,
bullpen.
that's unfair, though, because most of those were against one guy, right?
I'm just saying,
Two,
it-
Gaddis and
Gaddis and
Quantrill.
Quantrill
Yeah,
gave all 8 runs.
Gaddis wasn't great, but Quantrill got dinged
They
hard.
both
Yeah,
gave
yeah.
4 runs.
Yeah.
And then,
Quantrill, 4 earned runs. Quantrill gave 5 runs,
Yeah.
4 earned. Yeah.
and the bullpen, 14 and 2/3 innings pitch, only 3 earned runs, a 1.84 ERA.
That's
The
how you
only
win.
one that gave up a run
was
is
Karinchak.
Karinchak.
Yeah,
That's it.
that was
the
it.
rest
And
of
he
them-
gave up 3 runs on a home run, by the way, that was a wall scraper.
Yeah.
It
Off-
barely got out.
off what we talked about with the foul
Yeah,
tip
yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
confusion.
But
So
since that home run, the bullpen's been completely lights out.
Awesome.
Unreal.
You expect that to continue against Oakland this week. By the way, the good news is, even though they're playing at 9:40 the next 2 nights, after these next 2 games, the Guardians do not start a game after 7:10 until June.
Yeah, thank God.
Yeah.
Thank God.
In fact, their whole homestand is 6:10 or earlier. What's going to be an awesome homestand against
Yeah.
the Mariners and the Yankees. That's going to be a lot
And
of fun.
by the way, I'm glad you brought that up.
Yeah.
The 6:10 starts, which they do when school is in.
Oh, my God.
You're going to be home by 8:45.
9
games-
o'clock, you'll be in your
The
bed.
game Saturday night started at 9:40.
Yeah.
And if not for the Karinchak inning, which
Right.
took like 17 minutes,
Yeah.
you know,
Which is a fast inning last year.
right. But aside from that inning, they were on pace to play that game in 1 hour and 50. It ended up being 2:03, I think.
Right. The
So-
Friday game was longer, but the only games that are going long are high-scoring games.
Yeah, the high-scoring game Friday night
Yeah.
took 3 hours.
I mean, but it's fine if it's a 3-hour game if the
Right.
score's 8, 9, 8, or
I'm
6,
all-
7.
I'm good with
fine.
that, yeah.
The games that are normal scores, low scores, they're all going under 2:30
So you could
across
go
the
to
league.
you could go to a 6:10 start, and you could be leaving the stadium. You likely will if you
Yeah.
go off the averages a little after 8:30.
You pretty much know you're getting one of 2 things almost every night. Either a high-scoring slugfest, which is fun,
Or an early
a
home.
super fast game.
And I'm
It's
great with
perfect.
both.
It's
I'm great with
It's
both.
awesome. I
Yeah.
can't believe, and I think you're with me, that if you would have told the 19-year-old me that I would like these rules, I would have said, you're insane.
I
and
would have
I
too.
love it.
I do too.
Love it.
I didn't think I would love it. I thought,
Yeah.
well, if it's good for the game, I'm
Yeah.
fine, but I think it's going to mess with pitchers' rhythms. Now, we do have to hold our fire for one reason.
Yeah.
I do think when we get into the playoffs, and we saw this with Karinchak
In the first game.
in the first
Yeah,
game.
I know where you're going.
People are going to get pissed.
Well,
yeah.
I don't think people are. I think you're going to see a lot more pitchers melting down.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Because in the playoffs,
Lot of
I can just
pressure.
tell you from my experience, when I get into an inning where it's a trouble inning, I've got a guy on second, nobody out, second and third, one out, whatever. I slow everything down. I'm normally a quick worker. I get it. I look for the sign and I throw. I wouldn't need a 15-second shot clock normally.
Yeah.
But when I'm in a spot, I go through everything in my mind.
Yeah.
Location, pitch selection, and everything slows down. I'm afraid that when we get into the most important games of the year,
Yeah.
we're not going to love it so much. We'll see.
Maybe.
We'll see.
By the way, I don't know. I didn't figure out exactly how much time it was. I got to go back and look at it. But the Brewers, I was listening to the Cubs Brewers on the radio Saturday afternoon. I was going to the movies. The game started at 2:20. I got out of my car at 4 o'clock. So we were an hour and 40 minutes to go into the movie theater. They were already going to the top of the 8th inning. And I kept looking at the score before the movie started.
Right.
By the way, at the movie theater, I yelled at the person in front of me to put her phone away because I never take up. I was looking at my scores before the previews even started.
Right.
But once the movie starts, you put your freaking phone away.
Yeah, you're supposed
she took
to.
it out 4 times in the first 5 minutes and said, "Put your phone away."
Did they?
She didn't take it out the rest of the movie.
Good,
I
yeah.
think it was a woman. I'm not sure. I couldn't really tell.
Yeah.
But I'm pretty sure it was a woman. But anyway, the point is these games are flying. I love it. It's so much fun. There's such a rhythm to the game.
Yeah, I know.
Even on the radio, it's like pitch, pitch, pitch. Beautiful.
It goes so fast.
Clase's work Saturday night when he had the save was a minute and 9 seconds or something like that. I went back and timed it.
Well, he threw 9 pitches,
Yeah,
8
I mean,
strikes.
it was unbelievable.
Boom, 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 boom.
And this is the best for like my generation and younger, which is
It's
what
going to bring
baseball
in
is
some
trying.
young fans. I really believe
You don't
that.
have time to check Twitter between pitches. Like you used
No,
to have time to
you
go scroll,
absolutely
and you
don't.
miss 2, and then you do not have time to look at your phone between pitches.
There's just
and that,
so much more action.
It brings you into the game in a way that I think is why young people are drawn to basketball even more than football to an extent because outside of free throws, it's a free-flowing game.
Right.
You can't take
yes.
your eyes off or you miss something. In
And you know
football,
what?
there is time
Baseball
between
is,
plays.
I think, well-suited to check your phone anyhow because you can do it between innings.
Exactly.
Right,
You know,
right,
you've
yeah.
got the
Built-in
minute and a
time
half
for it.
That's
between
right.
innings. Do your business there, but
That's
when
right.
the game starts, watch the game.
That's right.
You
And
know,
we've got to
watch the
get
game.
people at the stadiums. We've got to get young people watching the games, being more interested.
Well, that's why the Guardians play for the $49 month pass.
That's
Great idea.
best
That's
deal
a
ever.
great idea because I
Best
think
deal ever.
younger people are going to be the ones that do that.
Yeah.
They're going to get them there. They're going to see that they're going to have fun.
Yes.
And there's a lot going on, and hopefully they'll grow the fan base. That was the sole intent of this. And
Yes.
Manfred, who I've said
Me
is the
too.
worst commissioner of our lifetime.
Yeah.
If this works, like I think it could,
Yeah.
he has a chance to completely rewrite his legacy.
I thought he was a disaster, but I do think all the rule changes they've made, I think, have helped the game. And
Yeah.
they've
Awesome.
made the game more interesting.
Oh, I thought there was one thing interesting where
Yeah.
was it Gonzalez that stole the base and Quantrill stepped off and threw to second to
Right,
get him?
right, yes, yeah.
So one of the things that was talked about when I was in Arizona with both Willis and with Tito was they were concerned about the cat and mouse game between pitcher and runner. And I think that they must have gone through this a lot over the course of how are we going to play this.
Yeah.
And I thought Cal Quantrill played it absolutely perfectly. He didn't freak out.
Right.
He heard the first baseman yell, going, going, going.
Right.
He stepped off, spun, and threw to second.
Yeah.
In the old world, if you thought the runner was too far off first, you would automatically throw over to first.
Right.
But the play here is to go to second base because you're
Yeah.
going to get it out. You're going to get him in the rundown either way.
That's
where
right.
you might not get him going back to first.
That's right. You throw to first, you probably, by the time they throw to second.
Right.
Yeah, and by the way, we're going to see a ton of stolen bases this year.
They're already up big.
Well,
Attempts.
here's what's up. I don't think attempts are up that much.
Well, I
its
thought
stolen base percentage
It's way up.
is way
Yeah, that's
up.
what I meant. That's
it's
what I meant.
over 90. So
Well, remember, we knew that it went up 30% in minor league.
Right, and here's
baseball.
what's going to happen. Like, so far, I don't know about yesterday's numbers yet. Through the first 3 days, stolen base attempts was not up really.
I thought I
but
saw it was up, like 11 or 12%.
Maybe including yesterday it went up.
Yeah, I think
but
that-
percentage was up over 90%.
Yeah.
So what's going to happen is the attempts now are going to shoot.
Sure, because
They're gonna shoot.
the play is more successful.
And this is perfect for a team like the Guardians that have most of the guys that play can steal.
And certain teams are like the Yankees were I think they were 28th in the league last year in stolen bases. They're tied with the Guardians right now for third.
It's early.
And it's
well,
early.
they're going to run.
yeah.
They're
But
going to
I'm
run
just saying
more.
certain
But
teams
certain teams are not built to run.
No.
But
that
certain
now
teams
can run more.
A lot of teams, their philosophy was not to run because analytics said, don't run, the percentages aren't there.
Sure.
Well, now the percentages are there to run.
It's a safer play
Yes.
now. Who are your 3 stars from the series? And the reason I ask it, you could name 6 different guys.
Yeah.
So
you know?
I would put Zunino on there. And
Yeah.
I'm going to save Zunino for 1 sec.
Yeah.
We got to give Tim Herron a shout out, though.
Absolutely.
Because what he did yesterday, not just awesome, but historic. Did you guys see the numbers?
Never been done, guys.
Yeah.
Since 1893, when they moved the pitching mound back, it's
never been
no
done.
pitcher has ever come into his major league debut, faced at least 4 batters, and struck out 4.
Yeah.
1893.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's
It's
a long
unreal.
time. I'm not good at
It's
math. That's
unbelievable.
over 100 years.
Yeah.
Silly. And his stuff was filthy.
His
stuff
breaking
is
ball,
nasty.
it's
Filthy.
And here's the thing. We talked earlier about they got to make a trade. You know, they still need another arm. I've said
Starter,
that
not reliever. Yeah.
Right.
He's
Yeah.
not a starter long term, right? He is a reliever.
Well, look, to be determined.
Okay.
to be determined. Everybody, when they're comes up, not everybody, most of the guys will break through as a reliever. But a lot of times they need a spot start, they'll call a guy up.
Okay.
His parents didn't make it to the game. I don't know if you guys heard that story. He got called up. His parents said, should we be there? They flew in. I think they got stuck, missed their connection. I think they ended up watching his performance from the airport in Seattle, which is heartbreaking. But 4 hitters, 4 outs. I'm not saying he's going to be a long-term solution here, but the reason that I just trust what the Guardians are doing so much, when news came out that McKenzie could miss up to 8 weeks, and you start thinking about how do they bridge the gap? Now, Gaddis was not great.
No.
But this is a guy who wasn't the first or second or third prospect in their organization.
Yeah.
They call him up to help bridge the gap in the bullpen, and this is just some run-of-the-mill guy who came up and faced 4. Now, there was probably no book on him. They didn't know what he was going to throw.
Yeah, we don't know what he's going to do. He might get bombed his next 3 appearances.
Slaughtered. But
he was
my point
awesome
is,
yesterday.
This is the kind of stuff that the Guardians have become known for.
They have had a ton of success drafting and developing pitchers and then bringing them along in the majors and having success. I would never, if I were the Guardians, I would never spend any big money on the bullpen. No. They don't need to. I said the Mets spending crazy money was stupid, even though they have an unlimited payroll, so I guess it doesn't matter. I don't understand spending big money on relievers because there's always some good young arm that you could turn into a reliever.
Yeah.
I still think at some point they might need a veteran starter because a veteran starter can matter in the playoffs.
Yeah.
But we'll see. Let's see.
But by the way,
there's no rush.
We've talked about, and it was only 1 start, but we've talked about you weren't sold on Savali.
I'm still not sold on both of them, but Savali was fantastic.
But Savali looked like 2 years ago. Savali.
He was great. Again, I got to see it. That's why I'm not in a rush.
I know.
We don't need to trade for a guy right now.
His stuff, like his
he looked
stuff
nasty.
Was great.
He was fantastic.
Speaking of
we'll see Plesac tonight. He goes against
you know how we did overreaction on Friday?
Yeah, I was laughing. By the way,
I was like, Shane.
Are we ever going to get a hit?
They got hits. Listen, so that was proven wrong. I said Shane Bieber might be a bad teammate.
Yeah.
Well, I texted Cal, and I was like, hey, Cal, is Shane Bieber a bad teammate? He goes, LO, no, you idiot. So, proven fact.
I know. Everybody loves Shane Bieber.
Well,
did you text him back and say, why did he suck yesterday?
No, I did not text him yesterday and ask him why he sucked. But Shane Bieber,
he was not good yesterday.
No.
Not a bad teammate.
I do got a question for Boyle and Jay, and it's actually me and Mike was texting back and forth about this.
It's like I'm just not here
Game 1,
sometimes.
we know what it was. The rest of the games, the Indians got 9+ hits. They were scoring runs.
Who?
Yeah.
What is it about when an ace is on the mound that we can't really get hits or score runs?
They oftentimes are matching up with an ace.
Yeah, I mean, but is that?
I mean, it works out that way.
Do we know that that's true though?
What?
I mean, like, what are the Guardians' numbers? I mean, just because they didn't hit this first start.
I know what you're
but
saying.
But that does happen sometimes.
It does happen sometimes.
But once you get into the season, it doesn't always work out that way.
No, it doesn't always work out that way. But oftentimes, particularly late in the season when you're in a pennant race. Oftentimes, aces will match up with ace. They're always matching up on opening day is the one day of the year where you can guarantee every team's best pitcher is throwing, unless there's an injury or something fluky like that. But it's a thing. It's been that way for a lot of years, but it's because oftentimes they are facing off against the team's other best pitcher. I don't even know if it's the majority of the time, but just the rhythm of the game and the way it starts and the way, 4 days, five days from opening day when Bieber throws again, he'll likely be facing the ace.
Well,
now, it gets off track.
It won't
once you get
because
into
the
the
A's
season.
have no ace.
Yeah. Well, the A's are different. The A's are a mess. Wait, how many? What's their record?
1-2.
1-2.
I've won 2 bets. I'm up $28 through 3 games.
And explain everybody what you're doing again.
Just betting $10 against the A's on the money. Not the money line,
on the run line.
Run line. Yeah.
To lose every game.
I'm going to bet 162 times $10 and see how much.
So your outlay will be $1,160.
No, it'll be $1,620.
$1,620. Yeah, I'm sorry. $1,620
over the course of the season.
And it's going to be a fun
and it'll be
experience.
around even money, maybe minus 110, 120, depending
they're
on the
actually
game.
today they're playing the Guardians tonight. They are the money line's plus 110. So I'm actually gonna make if the Guardians
money
win,
line's plus
not the money line, the run line. If they
the run line. That makes sense.
Yeah, if they win tonight because it's Plesac.
It's Plesac.
So
It's not a,
they're not
the
sure,
A's the A's have basically five fifth starters. I mean, they don't have any. Good
they're not
starting
great.
pitchers.
2 more things I want to talk about though, real quick. The Guardians, Zunino, obviously,
Huge game.
big game yesterday. Mm-hmm. Do you know the last time a Indians Guardians catcher had 3 hits in a game? Don't look at my stats.
I'm not looking at stats. I'll say Roberto. No. I'll say Yan Gomes.
No.
It couldn't have been that long ago. Was it?
How long?
You're asking the question.
How long could it be that? How long is that long?
God, God, 3 hits in a game isn't. I mean,
Austin Hedges did not have a single 3-hit game in his career, so it's pre.
I don't know. Did he have a 3-hit week? By the way, he's 0 for to start the season.
He is. He's 0 for 7 to start.
Yeah.
well, it's funny. The Guardians are better where they needed to be better.
Yeah.
All right, don't get off track.
And
I would say 5 years.
10 years ago.
Who was that?
Carlos Santana.
That's embarrassing.
And before him,
wow.
Lou Marson, who I've never
Lou
heard of
Marson. Yeah, they got him in a trade from
2010.
Philadelphia.
Yeah, long time ago.
The one thing he didn't play a lot of games for the Indians.
No,
so
he
I don't know how
No.
that's impressive. That he had
Zunino, though, offensively impressive.
Yeah.
Defensively, we got.
He struggled.
I counted.
And he has a great reputation.
I said that on Friday.
I counted 6 pass balls over the weekend.
Yeah, he's having problems with that now. We do have to cut him a little bit of slack.
It's a new staff.
He's
Still
working with a new
learning.
staff.
Yeah, and he has a great reputation as a defender, but
He
he's been a
does.
disaster
That's why I'm so
far.
odd that he's been not good behind the plate. I mean, I wouldn't even. I would like to say he's been average, but I think he's been.
No, he's
below
been
average.
horrible.
6 pass balls in 4 games.
I
by
tweeted
my
yesterday that he had more RBIs than Hedges had all last year, and somebody said he also had more pass balls than Hedges had all last year. Which
Well, look, with Hedges, you were getting a guy who was a very good defensive catcher, knew the staff, well-liked, terrific clubhouse guy. Zunino, I think you're getting a bat that is, from a catcher standpoint.
I think he'll be fine defensively.
I do too. I think let's give him some time.
Yeah.
It's funny. Every pitcher's pitch that hits in the dirt is going to move differently. It's all based on arm slot,
It's reps.
RPM.
Yeah.
And the balls just bounce differently depending on the pitchers. He doesn't know any of these guys. He hasn't worked substantial innings with any of them. So let's judge him again end of June.
And he was hurt most of last year, right?
He was.
Yeah.
So he's still getting back.
In the end, though, I'd say first star's got to go to Savali, I think.
I agree.
Because he
Yeah,
pitched so great
tremendous,
over the weekend.
Tremendous.
Second
But
star.
Bieber was, even
No,
though
but I'm
he
just
didn't
saying
get the
Friday,
win.
Saturday, Sunday. Because that's.
Okay.
I thought you were saying
And
Friday,
Savali
Saturday,
went an extra
Sunday.
inning. He pitched 7.
Yeah,
Bieber
he
went
did.
6. They both
He
struck out
did.
3. So if you're going,
Guardians didn't do.
Quan was great.
Quan was great.
Zunino was great.
Josh Bell was terrible.
had a bad start.
Josh Bell's struggling, although I think he's drawn a lot of walks. I think
He's
he
6
walked
walks.
5 times, 6 times.
He's 6 walks, but he's 1 for 12.
Yeah,
tough.
tough
It's all right. You can't get too worried about
No,
statistics
but-
early.
Yeah, when
I
a guy's hitting 600 in
Yeah.
April, I don't get excited either.
Yeah.
I would tell you, though, if you had told me that last Thursday, before the season started, that the Guardians would take 3 of 4 from Seattle and Jose would not have a single RBI.
I know.
I'd say you're batshit crazy.
Jose's been you know what? This scares me. Jose's been really bad against breaking balls. And so maybe teams are just going to say, we're done feeding this guy fastballs. He kills fastballs. He's just going to see all off-speed stuff. If that's what they're going to do, and that's what Seattle did, and every pitching scouting report is different, but you can bet the Oakland A's saw what they did to him.
Right.
If he starts seeing a heavy diet of breaking balls like I expect, and he doesn't get significantly better, it could be a long season for him.
Hey, I'm not worried.
worried
I
yet.
think he'll be fine.
I'm
By
not
the
worried
way,
yet, but
how good is Julio Rodriguez, man? That guy
Jeez, that
is
kid's special.
unbelievable.
I just like everything about him.
Oh, my God.
I love his.
They're a good team, the Mariners. They're a really
I don't
good
want to
team,
say
but-
he's Ken Griffey reincarnated, but he's fun to watch.
He's good.
He
He's
loves the game.
Yeah.
He's got that Lindor smile. The swing is
pretty.
something to see, man.
It's pretty,
Yeah.
man.
So, and he does everything well. I think, he doesn't really have holes in his game. Seattle's lucky to have him.
Was
he's
he 22?
I don't think
21?
he's 22.
Did you see that?
I think he's 21.
Did you see the thing with Anthony Rendon grabbing that fan? Did you see
I
that?
did.
No.
I did. And Major League Baseball told him not to comment on it.
Yeah.
Wait, fill me in.
He was.
We could probably show the clip.
Do we have?
If you want to find that on
We
Twitter.
definitely don't have it
Yeah,
logged
yeah.
up, but Anthony's Rendon's on the Angels.
Yeah, if you want to
R-E-N-D-O-N.
find the clip of Rendon,
Was it after a play?
was that?
Was it after a play?
It was after a game. I think.
It was after the game.
You can, if you want, you can read the super chat.
I'll see if I can find the clip.
We have a super chat. If we can find the clip, we can show it. I don't think it's going to end well for it. There's definitely going to be. I think there's a suspension in order for it.
Is it
Yeah,
this?
you want to read the super chat?
Halem Yusuf.
Yeah,
and I
that's it.
hope I got this right. He said, I think going to the game with the new rules won't be as fun. Imagine trying to go get nachos and missing 2 full innings.
That's a good point. That is a good point.
So just wait for the guy to come around, man. What's the matter? You gonna really whine
Well,
about
the
that?
nacho guy doesn't come around.
So I was listening
that's
this
true.
morning on the radio, and some people believe that Major League Baseball probably overcorrected the time issue. And you all seem to think that, the pace of the games is where it should be. Do you see you
Those
coming
people.
off of that as
I'm
the season
ignoring
go
people
on?
that complaining about the
Oh,
rules.
shoot.
Yeah, did you see it?
I'm watching it right now.
Yeah. Send that to Anthony, and we can throw it in tag board so everybody that hasn't seen it can watch it. What was your question, Earl?
So I see that everybody is on pace with the pace of play with Major League Baseball.
Yeah.
Do you think as the season go on that you will stay where you are now as far as?
Well, like I said, I want to see meaningful baseball with these same rules.
Why would anybody have a problem with the rules? The game is moving faster with more energy. I just don't understand.
Some believe that it's moving too fast.
Yeah, to Earl's point, I have.
Who?
Well, the fan that said, I don't know that going to games is going to be as fun because bathroom breaks, you're going to miss a lot of action now. And if the games are shorter, the last thing you want to do is if the game's 3.5 hours and you go to the bathroom and you miss three at-bats, who cares? But if you have to go to the bathroom and you miss, you could miss a full inning.
If you go to the bathroom in a football game or a basketball game, you're going to miss a ton of action too. I mean,
you will, but you got a lot more TV timeouts that are longer in football.
I mean,
the TV timeouts in baseball are structured.
I mean, we're talking about
Guardians is not. The stadium is not that crowded. I mean, these
what are you
concession
doing in the
stands, you're not
bathroom
waiting
for?
forever.
Well, the hope is it becomes crowded. And by the way,
yeah.
those $49 passes sold out for the month of
I know.
April.
Yeah.
Like
There's
that.
now a waiting list for May. I anticipate they'll sell. Wait till summer.
Right.
Wait till June and July and August when the
People are
weather's
so
warm.
miserable. Like, and I could be a freaking misery. I'll admit that. But like, really, like the sport is trying to improve, trying to make it have more pace and energy.
Earl's point is, and I do understand what you're saying, and so just hear it out. It's not my criticism, but I have heard other people say this. And my son said this, and I was really surprised by it because he's your age. Yeah. Corey said, when I go to a game, I like it to be long. I like a 3-hour game. It's an event.
Yeah, but I think
Now that's.
But Corey's a
what
big
are the
baseball
fans-
fan by general. I think.
Yeah, but he stopped watching baseball because for the same reason that all young people stopped watching it. It's too slow. But I wonder, and we'll find out as the season goes on what impact this is having on attendance. Way too early to judge yet. But I'm curious to know, once we get a sizable number of games as a sample size, what the average fans are saying when they're leaving the stadium after a 2-hour, 3-minute game. Like, a lot of fans get there late.
Do you feel like you get your money's worth if it's only a 2-hour game?
Right, and like in LA, where it's a notoriously late arriving crowd.
Yeah.
There are fans still walking into Dodger Stadium in the 4th inning, which I never understood.
I have no sympathy for these people. We've been hearing for years people complaining that baseball's too long. Now we're going to complain it's too fast?
Well, you know what?
This is insanity.
It goes back to
I'm with
our
you.
original point about Twitter. Voices get amplified.
Who is complaining?
And
I want to
suddenly-
know, Earl. Who is complaining? Tell me
well,
who's
I can tell you
complaining.
what now. I don't know the name of the author that wrote the piece, but his whole bent was he went to a game Saturday. I think it might have been in San Francisco or no. Is San Francisco home?
Yankees.
I don't remember.
No, they're at Yankee Stadium.
Yeah.
I can't remember now the town, but he talked to fans, and the games were much quicker. And he said that I was surprised. I thought it would be universal. Everybody loved the in and out. There were a lot of fans that said, well, I appreciate a day at the ballpark. And now it's like a blink at the ballpark.
I think the vast majority.
You'll always find people to complain about something, Bull.
Even in September, October, after the end of the season, I think the vast majority of people will enjoy the new rules. Just being able to get in and out quicker in the grand scheme of things long term is very, very good for baseball. But to Bull's point, we're always going to find people argue for the sake of arguing. We talked about the worst kind of people
always
last
see
week.
complaints.
There's the Zag guy, and I'm not saying this particular person or the people that whoever article author wrote is they're Zag people, but you can't please everybody.
No.
And,
I love it. So
we've learned.
I do too, and I'm more likely to go to a game because
that's right.
I am too,
Nobody, the people that are complaining are not going to not go to games because it's faster.
I would hope not.
That doesn't make any sense.
I would hope not.
The only thing, and this is not I'm excited to see how this plays out, and you alluded to this. Bases loaded, 2 out situation in the playoffs where you can see the sweat dripping off the pitcher.
Yeah.
And we're all sitting on the couch watching and like, what's going through his head? He doesn't.
Well,
and he has to
And if a
speed
game
up.
is decided by that rule, people are going to be pissed. Yes.
Yeah, they will.
And they could be, but I'm just, I like working through the pitcher's mindset in that sense where each pitch in the playoffs feels so, but it does get way too long. So I'd rather have it be fast and
I
lose
do
that
too,
than
but
vice versa.
I am in the playoffs. The one thing that so Tito put, I would have done this, by the way. I would have waited until you get to Oakland, but Tito decided when you fall off the horse, the best thing to do is to get back on. And when Karinchak came in to pitch in a tight spot, I know you didn't want to bring him back the next night, but that was the kind of game that I'm okay using him. throw him when it's 9-4. Throw him out there.
Right.
Who cares?
Put Clase out there.
Yeah, they use Clase.
Yeah.
Now, Karinchak threw a lot of pitches the night before,
Right,
so he
sure.
was off
Right,
the table.
right.
But I just said, okay, how's he going to use Karinchak? He's done for the series. Wait until you get to Oakland. There will be no crowd.
Right.
Literally.
And that will take the pressure down. The last thing in the world you want to have happen is to have Karinchak have 2 blown saves because of 2 meltdowns because of the pitch clock.
Yeah.
So I was glad that he wasn't used. I knew he wouldn't be used Friday, but when he came in the game Saturday, I just immediately said, that's a mistake.
Yeah.
Turn that off.
Do we have,
I said, that's a mistake. Yeah, we have the Rendon thing.
Rendon?
But in typical Tito fashion, he got it right.
Yeah.
He had faith in his guy. We talked about he
He's
has
so
long
good.
leashes.
He's so good.
He's great.
So good.
He wanted him to win in that spot. He probably gave it great thought. Well, it's going to be better for him long term if he can pitch in this stadium and overcome it. But what we saw in his 2 appearances, and this is what's going to happen in every playoff game, the entire stadium is a chorus of 5, 4, 3.
Love it.
We've never seen that in the sport. Imagine in golf if guys were standing over their putt.
I've always said that this should happen.
Was counting
This
down
should happen in golf. I've always said that.
I wish it was, but
Listen,
it's not.
golfers are softer than Charmin. They can't handle that stuff.
I know they
Let's
can't.
go. Go ahead.
Let's see the
Baseball
Rendon
players
clip.
got to be
All
tough.
right,
Suck it up.
here's the incident with Anthony Rendon and the fan.
You got to wait a little bit.
Yeah,
it's towards the end here. But as you can see,
And
Angels
remember,
players,
Rendon signed this big contract with the Angels.
and it's been terrible.
He's been awful. He's been injured.
I think when he signed, it was the 2nd biggest baseball contract ever for an infielder.
I don't remember. Players, I don't know why there's no security there, by the way.
Yeah,
that's
this is what we don't need, by the way.
why are these guys having to, essentially,
Here it is.
Yeah, you can't do that.
Now, you can't do that. However, I'll say this to your point, Bull. When I first saw the clip, I said, oh, this is just bad job on security.
Terrible.
This fan was doing something, like we talk about athletes and all that, the smack talk. The one thing I have no use for is a fan taunting players in a fashion where it was clearly personal, and you saw he was leaning over the rail, and he was sticking his face out there. Some of these guys are goading players. They want players to do that.
And now here's the deal, okay? Fan behavior is awful. There's so many fans that act like complete asses at these games. Doing things in a funny manner, busting a player's chops about an error, all fair game. When you talk about families, you make it personal. You may say something racist. All stuff like that, it's crossing the line.
Yes.
It's unacceptable. However, the players have to deal with it.
Yeah, they do.
As unseemly as it may be, unless a fan actually touches you.
To an extent, though. Like, if a guy's leaning over and he's saying something in your face about your wife or about your child, we're all human.
I get it.
And
that's where security failed.
Security needed to be.
There was no security guard there.
And that was going on for a minute at least before Rendon was
finally frustrated. He should have just walked back. I don't know what the guy said. The guy was probably a complete ass.
I'm sure.
But he's got to somehow find a way to or his teammate, grab him and get him out of there.
Yeah.
Nothing good is going to come out of swiping at the guy.
Earl, it's 12 o'clock. You know what that means.
That's right. But before we get to that, Great Lakes Collectors Convention. The Great Lakes Collectors Convention, presented by Greeny Sports Cars, takes over the Fieldhouse in Independence, Ohio, April 14th through the 16th. I think all 3 of you guys will be there.
Yes, sir.
Where the passion of sports fans, collectors, and sports talk enthusiasts collide. 50,000 square feet of ball card blitz, hundreds of display tables, card shop, live theater with the interactive appearances from the region's most notable sports media guys like Adam the Bull, Jay Crawford, and Mikey McNuggets with no sauce. Great cards, great locations, great show. Tickets on sale now at greenysportscars.com.
Hey, we're also giving away some tickets, right, Earl?
Yeah, we are giving away some tickets. Mike, how can they get those?
If you go to wkyc.com/contests, you'll be able to enter to win a 4-pack of tickets and I believe a 2-pack of VIP passes to come hang out with us at the Independence Fieldhouse for the Great Lakes Collectors Convention. We'll tweet out the link as well.
Also, coming up in overtime, we got more viewer questions, but we got a new way to tell you about overtime. Steve, hit it.
Attention, all Cleveland sports fans. Are you tired of missing out on exclusive content and behind-the-scenes conversations?
The Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show has got you covered.
For less than $2 a month, you can become a Starters tier member. You get custom emojis and badges that other people don't have.
Or upgrade to the big-time coaches tier. For less than $5 a month, you get all the exclusive overtime content, things that those other suckers are not getting.
Don't miss out on the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show experience.
Our 12 o'clock hour is presented to you by Call It Racing. Our lunch hour of the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show is brought to you by our NASCAR team, official NASCAR team of Northeast Ohio, back-to-back Xfinity wins.
This is something's building there, isn't it? Tell us about it.
Yeah, so on here, we just go ahead and do the report now. Give me 1 second.
Oh, boy.
Call it.
They won again.
They won again. Yeah, they won again.
So they were in Richmond, Virginia this
Fuego.
weekend. The Xfinity Series Toyota Care 250.
And what is that, that's a small track, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a very small track. One of the, I think it's like 0.7 miles.
Yeah.
So Chandler Smith won his first ever Xfinity race. And he led a race high 83 laps, bringing home the victory for Call It Racing. That's back-to-back Xfinity wins.
Nice.
Derek Cross finished 10th, and Daniel Hamrick finished 11th. So it was a solid day in the Xfinity Series for Call It Racing. Not so good on Sunday.
Yeah, the big boy circuit they took it on the chin.
Yeah, the Toyota Owners 400 didn't really treat us that great. AJ Allmendinger finished 27th, and Justin Haley finished 31st.
Yeah, it was a rough day.
NASCAR's off this week due to Easter weekend. They resumed the week after that at Martinsville.
Oh, good. You like that track? That's another short one, right?
I love short tracks.
Yeah.
Martinsville, Bristol, Richmond. I love all the short tracks.
Yeah, there's a lot of it's exciting. A lot of racing going on. All right, so we got to talk Cavs.
By the way, real quick before you talk Cavs,
yeah, go ahead.
I'm going to admit that I paid for the stupid Twitter Blue.
You did?
I did.
Bad
You're
job
the
out
only
of you.
person I've met so far. I keep asking people, are you going to pay? No, hell no.
They didn't strip mine. I still have mine.
Why did you?
I was just like, I use it to promote my podcast and stuff like that, and I don't want, I'm like, it's not that much money.
What do you pay? $9 a month?
I paid a one-time fee for a year.
Oh, I didn't even know you could do that.
You get it a little cheaper. It was like $70-something. I was like, I felt like an idiot, but I was like,
so forever?
No, it's for a year.
Oh, for a year.
Yeah.
So that's what, about $6 a month?
I think it had. I don't remember.
Yeah,
what
$6.50.
$6 would be $7.
Whatever it was. I was like, I don't know. I'd see, and then I'm reading. Everybody's up and on. Listen, I think Elon Musk is a putz, and I think Twitter's been crappy since he took it over. But I use it, and that's how I promote my podcast and everything I'm doing. So I decided to, I can't get worked up. It's not like it's that much money. I think it sucks. I think you should have to have some level of credibility
let me ask you this.
to get it.
What do you get with that? I don't even understand what you get with the blue
according
check
to what
mark.
Elon says.
Yeah, I don't believe
if you pay for
these.
Twitter Blue, you will be put on other people's timeline who don't follow you, and if you don't pay for Twitter Blue, you're strictly stuck to the people who you follow. Like
who knows what's true? I don't even know if I believe it.
New Twitter where it's just the For You page.
I don't know if I believe any of it, but I said, it's $70-something.
I use it so infrequently now.
It,
I just mine is still there. I just looked. I don't know why.
I feel like I need to promote. I use it to promote.
Why?
No idea.
So I'm going to admit it, and I don't care.
Let's talk Cavs, though.
I don't know why people got so aggravated.
Yeah, let's talk Cavs. It was a tale of two weekend.
Yes.
A tale of two. Games over the weekend. Friday is leaving such a bitter taste in my mouth. It's like last night didn't even happen. I did like the fact that in the fourth quarter, when last night the Cavs played great defense, they came back and won. They were down most of the game until the fourth quarter.
Indy was trying to lose.
I'm not going to lie, guys. I did not watch yesterday's game. I was watching baseball all day long.
You didn't miss anything.
I didn't think it was worth watching.
Did you watch Friday?
I did a little bit, but I didn't watch the whole thing.
That has me really concerned.
That's a bigger talking point.
To me,
are you concerned, though? It doesn't matter. I mean, it's regular
my money
season
right now would
playoffs.
pick the Knicks in the series.
I'm not going that far, but and we've talked this, and you and Jay are differing on the opinion. You said the games early in the season against Boston have no relevance to a playoff series.
I don't think anything in the regular season has anything to do
You,
with
on the
playoffs.
other hand, have said you do believe that them playing. So if we're going to keep that same energy for the Cavs having positive momentum against Boston, we have to.
Which is why I'm being consistent here.
Exactly. We have to address the fact.
No,
that
for the series. I'm looking at it for the series.
Yeah. That the Knicks came into Rocket Mortgage Fieldhouse without Julius Randle. Now, granted, the Cavs didn't have a Curro and Jared Allen, but Randle's their second best player.
Yeah, I thought they were missing more than we were missing, to be fair.
And Jalen Brunson put on an absolute offensive display. Now, he made some tough shots, but I watched every bucket he made.
He was great.
The Cavs threw everything at him. Of his 18 made shots, he made 1 in open transition. So he made 17 shots with a legitimate primary defender on him. 5 against LeVert, 5 against Stevens, 4 against Mitchell, and 3 when he got switched on to Mobley.
And why is that so troubling?
Well, A, Randall's not in the court, so you knew he was option number 1. And B,
that's exactly right.
We know Garland can't guard him. They didn't even attempt to put Garland on him in this game.
Right.
They said, that's a bad matchup. We're not even going to try that. Who else do you have? If he's going to score – now, granted, he made some tough shots, and those shots aren't always going to fall. He was 7-12 from 3, 18-32 from the floor. He was unbelievable. But he made shots when they switched on to Mobley. They tried Stevens and LeVert, who have size advantages galore over him. And Mitchell, who we do need to play defense in the playoffs. Is it possible
that to some degree the Cavs sandbagged the game and just tried a bunch of things to see what they think might work for the playoffs?
That's always possible, but it didn't look like – to me, it looked like they wanted to win. I didn't think that they were, mailing it in.
Well, but everybody always wants to win. When you're on the court, you want to win. I get it. But
well, I think they tried a lot of different things defensively, and I think nothing worked. So there's nothing –
confidence level. Where are you, JB? I think Tibbs is one of the best.
Tibbs is a good playoff coach.
I think he's a great coach.
Yeah.
Particularly when it comes to close and late, designing sets that for one possession. Yeah. I think he's above average, and I am just not sold on JB.
Listen, I'm not saying hit the panic meter. I'm just saying the Cavs trying
Jay's hit the panic meter.
The Cavs trying a lot of
right now, though. I do think that
well, you are, because you're saying that one game changed your opinion on who's going to win the series.
No, it didn't. What happened in the course of the season? Knicks, Cavs.
Right, but going into this game, you were leaning towards picking the Cavs, and now you're picking
was super, super close for me.
Okay.
In fact, I have said all along, my fear is that this team's going to be one and done, and if that happens, this season was not a success.
Yes.
By no measure is this going to be a success. If we get, God forbid, you lose 4-1. I'm not predicting that. I think it could go 7. It could go the distance, but I'm not sure that the Cavs can pull this out. After watching what I saw on Friday, I think it's a bad matchup for the Cavs.
I don't think it's a great matchup, but I'm not sure they're a great matchup with any team in the Eastern Conference, the top tier of the Eastern Conference. And that's not a knock on the Cavs, but they don't have a guy at the 3 position to give them enough scoring punch to coincide for the fact that defensively, that's what they really need, their perimeter defenders, because as we know, Mitchell and Garland aren't great defenders. Like that's not an opinion, that's just a fact.
It is what it is.
It is what it is. Now, Mitchell has shown at times he can play defense, and maybe in the postseason he'll get locked up, but last year...
Would you take the Knicks? Are you going to take the Knicks in the series?
I still lean towards the Cavs. They have home court advantage. Yeah. I don't think Randall is going to be fully healthy for that series. Yeah. And I think what Brunson did was unbelievable, but I don't think that's sustainable.
I don't think that's sustainable either.
And the Cavs will have home court advantage.
Josh Allen back.
And Jared Allen
back.
And Okoro.
Now, if they get Josh Allen, I'm definitely picking the Knicks.
Yeah.
which helps, obviously. So I'm not freaking out over Friday's game, but I do think there were some things I saw defensively from the Cavs in that to make me go, they got to change some stuff up if they're going to win.
And to Bull's point, it might have been an experimental game. We're going to try this. We're going to try that. We're going to try this. We know what we've done that has had success during the regular season. We'll lean heavily on that. We don't want to show that in our last regular season game against them.
By the way,
there's definitely some of that
in protest, I will not watch a single second of any NBA game until the playoffs start now.
You're done.
You're not interested in the back-to-back games in Orlando?
Not interested.
Yeah, me either.
I'm not watching any of these
They're
games.
locked in. I mean, it's the 4.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're locked in a 4.
They're locked in.
Their magic number is 1 to clinch home court advantage. So they still either need to win one more game or New York has to lose one more.
Yeah.
Any scenario, they clinch home court advantage, which is crucial for them.
Yeah.
There's no scenario that they can get the 3 seed. I know they're 2.5 behind Philadelphia. Philadelphia lost yesterday.
Philly's got the tiebreaker.
They have the tiebreaker. So they'd have to beat Philly by a game, and
they'd have to win all 3. Philly have to lose all 3. I guess technically they might still be.
No, I don't even think that
Philly's got to have. If it's 2.5, that means Philly has to have 4 games.
Yeah, there's an odd number of games, and Philly is I think
Philly has 4 games left though, because you can't end half a game behind somebody.
No, I know you can't.
Oh shoot!
So
you're right.
The Cavs have how many games left?
3.
Yeah, so the Cavs can't do it. They're 2.5 back. They would
2.5 back.
I'm pulling up the standings right now.
If they lost all 3, or I mean, if they won all 3.
No, the Sixers have 4 games left.
Right.
If the Sixers lose every game and the Cavs win every game, the Cavs would finish ahead.
Yes, so it's not
By one game?
Yes.
By one game.
Okay.
If the Cavs win out, they'd
They'd
finish
be
52 and 30.
Okay.
And if Philly loses 4, they would finish 51 and 31.
51 and 31. So
Yes.
the Cavs would
So
have to win their last
technically-
3. The Sixers would have to lose their last 4.
Yeah, that ain't going to happen.
So
What sucks is the Cavs loss against the Knicks that just shouldn't have happened.
Yeah.
And Philly won a game that last week they won a game they were losing big. They came back and ended up winning.
yeah,
That one felt to me like the death knell. I was like, yeah, it's probably over now.
yeah.
But
I can tell you what don't suck.
what's
That
that?
our 12 o'clock hour of the show is brought to you by
Facts.
Call It Racing.
You're right. Two in a row, Xfinity
2 in a row.
victories.
Xfinity victories.
That doesn't happen very often.
What is the Knicks-Nets season series this year? Because that's
The Nets have won a couple straight here.
The Knicks-Nets season series, I would imagine that the Nets might have that because of the games that they had when they were full strength with Durant and Irving.
I don't know off the top of my head. I'll be completely honest.
Yeah, I haven't looked
okay. They
at
were
it.
2-2 against each other. So what's the next tiebreaker?
Division record.
Okay, because we'll see if the Nets can catch the Knicks. Is it division record? You sure about that?
No.
Or are you just guessing?
I'm guessing.
Because the Nets are only 2 games back of the Knicks. I know there's not many games left, but
I think the Nets only have 3 games left.
the
Knicks
two-
have 3-2.
the Nets have 4 games left, and the Knicks have 3 games left.
So possible. I mean, it's not impossible.
Yeah. So that's but pretty much the Cavs are locked into that.
Yeah.
Something
It feels
weird-
like it.
Something weird would have to happen.
Feels like it.
There you go.
I don't have a ton of confidence against the big 3, but if I had to see one, I think the numbers tell us we'd like to see Boston.
The numbers
Just because we've won 3 of 4, even though they were all in overtime.
I don't know.
You know.
I feel good about the Cavs playing the Knicks, but because and maybe I'll be proven wrong, certainly. I just feel like regular season, they want to convince us the regular season matters.
It
I
doesn't.
think the regular
It
season is
doesn't.
meaningless. And they prepare for the playoffs totally different than the regular season. And I know Jalen Brunson had this great game, but I just don't think it matters. I'm totally ignoring it. Maybe I'll be mistaken with that, but I just don't see it mattering.
It is 2 different games, but a game this late in the season where
Yeah.
you do know at this point, in game 77, which that was, you have a good idea of who can guard who can't, and what do we have to do to
But
make
you
sure
never
certain
know
players go
individual
up.
motivations at the end of the regular season and how much you're thinking ahead to the playoffs and stuff like that.
And that's all true, but we do know this. Donovan Mitchell and the Knicks at least had some sort of flirtation and desire
Yeah.
at some point. Jalen Brunson was going to New York with the thought process he'd be the second option behind Mitchell. Now he's
Right.
number 1. He wants to
Yeah.
prove, probably not to Mitchell, but just to the world, hey, you got stuck with me, but I'm pretty
Yeah.
damn good myself. He outscored
Yeah.
Mitchell in that game, and that was a back-and-forth battle for the ages.
Yeah.
Offensively, if you like good basketball.
Mitchell scored 40-plus 3 games in a
3
row.
games in a row. We're going to talk about Mitchell tomorrow offensively a lot. But
the Cavs' defense in general has been terrible the last few games.
And that's why I don't put too much stock into
Yeah.
any regular season game, because it is 2 different sports. The game slows down in the postseason. This goes back to Jay's point earlier, and I'm not ready to pick. I don't know how I fall on this series yet, if this does come down to it. You have to run offensive plays, and because the game slows down so drastically from the regular season, and we know Tibbs can do it. I think JB can. We just haven't seen him do it yet.
Yeah.
And that doesn't mean he can't.
I have seen some
We
things
just haven't
close
seen
and
him
late,
do
though,
it.
out of JB that give me pause.
We haven't seen him in the postseason, and I'm reserving the right to fully
And that's fair.
criticize him on his playoff coaching decisions until we've actually seen him
That's
in
fair.
the postseason.
Yeah, that's
So,
fair. We don't. I mean, he doesn't have a body of work
No.
that we can grade until we get into this series. Did you want to set up the Tyreek Hill? We're going to turn the page to the Browns now. You wanted to set up one of the other ones? Was it the Browns
No, I'm
logo?
gonna do the
or
Browns logo.
Okay, all right. I couldn't remember if it was that one or Tyreek Hill. Did you guys see what Tyreek Hill told I guess it was an autograph.
An autograph guy.
Who
yeah.
knows if he was being serious?
Yeah, I wanted to see how much stock you put into that comment
Yeah.
because I put this much into it.
I didn't really take
He
it
made a
that seriously.
I don't
comment
believe it.
to a Browns fan at an
have
autograph
it.
show. Oh, we do have it. Okay, we can roll it then, Steve, and let everybody decide. So we have the video.
We have the video and the audio.
Real quick. Link in the legend is not responsible. Link in the legend.
Go here.
We got the next one. Here's the actual quote. He says, "You should have paid me, bro. I wanted to go to Cleveland." Essentially.
Yeah. I mean, it's hard.
He's got to do the Lincoln Electric.
Yeah, go ahead and do the Lincoln Electric lead.
Yeah, that's my bad. So going forward, our Browns Talk is brought to you by Lincoln Electric. Lincoln Electric now hiring for great jobs.
Yeah.
And Lincoln Electric, elite manufacturers in welding.
There it is.
And all that stuff. Lincoln Electric, we love those guys. Great logo, too, by the way. Very
is
bold
nice.
and easy to read.
Yep.
Good graphic design. Shout out Lincoln Electric.
Yeah, what he basically was telling the Browns fan, because he saw he was wearing a Deshaun Watson jersey, is that, hey, I wanted to go to Cleveland. They should have paid me.
That's the exact quote.
Yeah, I don't know.
I mean, if that's true, it's disappointing because Tyreek Hill's a great player.
We didn't hear anything about it.
There was no rumors of that whatsoever. Doesn't mean it's untrue, but
Players
I
want to
think
go
he's
where
just
the money is.
I think he's just kind of talking.
I do too.
I don't
it seemed
think
like
there's
he
anything to
saw
it.
a Browns jersey and said, hey man, I wanted to go there. They should have paid me.
Yeah, it's not like he came out and just said this unprompted.
Right.
And he wasn't a free agent. He had to be traded.
Right.
So,
But I want to throw one thing out there because this is how when I saw this, I got my brain thinking. Of all the receivers in the NFL, and let me preface this with this. The Browns did not have a first-round pick to trade. They weren't going to trade a second-round pick, and they didn't have $120 million to give Tyreek Hill. This was never going to
they
happen.
certainly did have that money to give Tyreek Hill.
Well, they already paid Watson, though.
Well, but they could have paid Tyreek Hill. Are the Bengals, in theory, can they pay Joe Burrow and Jamar
But they didn't have a
Chase?
first-round pick to trade for Hill at the time.
Okay, that's fine.
Yeah,
I
Yeah,
disagree
it
with
wasn't
the money.
going to happen.
So I'm prefacing that. There's not a receiver in the NFL that fits Deshaun Watson's skill set better with his own skill set than Tyreek Hill. Those two, in theory,
I mean,
are the
I don't know. I'd
perfect
take
match
Steph
on paper.
Diggs. There's a number of guys
I'd
I'd
still
take.
rather have Chase or Jefferson than
No.
Well, first of all, they're younger than
Well,
Hill.
but I'm saying just skill set wise.
They're not as big a
Skill set
scumbag.
wise.
They're not scumbags like Hill.
Yeah, I mean they never.
But you
I'm
traded for Watson, so I guess it doesn't matter. But
Yeah, all bets are off now.
whatever.
anything.
You throw that in as a tiebreaker.
It
I
didn't
get what
mean
you're
much to me
saying
when I heard it.
because he's the fastest receiver.
And the one thing that differentiated in my mind Hill with some other guys, and maybe it's because I watch the Chiefs so much because they're always on national TV. As soon as the play broke down, that kinetic energy or kenosis thinking between Mahomes and Hill on
You're
where to
just
go on the
making up
scrimmage
words
drill.
right now.
I'm on the set. I can do whatever I
Yeah.
want now. I'm not
You
behind
got
the
it.
glass.
No, you
I'm
nailed it,
unhinged.
though.
Yeah. The kinetic energy kenosis, the twin syndrome thought. As
I
soon
know
as
what you're
Mahomes
saying.
got out of the pocket,
They were always on the same
him and Hill
page.
were on the exact same page, and we talked last year. What does Watson do?
Right, but that's
do
chemistry. You're not
unbelievable
going to necessarily have chemistry with the guy you haven't played with.
Facts.
It didn't happen the second he started
But
playing with Mahomes.
We do know that part of the reason they went out and got Elijah Moore this offseason, part of the reason they're at least flirting with Odell Beckham Jr., how real those are.
I don't think.
I don't think
is-
they're flirting with him at all.
They need a receiver who can freestyle when the play breaks down, which we saw last year. I know there's not a ton of chemistry between
Right.
Watson and his guys. DPJ's not a great quote-unquote freestyler when the play breaks
Right.
down. Amari Cooper
Yeah, but
isn't a
any of the-
precision route runner.
Any of the elite receivers are. So
yes,
any
but,
of those
but I'm
guys.
saying I've watched Hill enough to know that is
Yeah,
something
sure.
he does
That is
unbelievably
his strong
well.
suit,
Yeah,
for
yeah,
sure.
yeah. No
So
doubt.
I looked at the numbers, and just for fun, because why not?
Yeah.
Back in 2019, on deep passes, according to PFF, Watson had a 93 grade, 11 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. In 2018, he had a 98.2 PFF grade on deep passes down the left sideline, which is where Tyreek Hill does the most of his work. So I just put numbers together.
Yeah,
I'd
Tyreek
love
Hill
to
would've
see
been
them.
an
I'd
amazing-
love
It
to
is.
see them in the
It's
same
the
offense.
perfect matchup.
The
It was
Browns
never
did-
going to happen.
I don't
but-
buy. They had the money. You could always find a way, but they didn't have the trade assets to go get.
Yeah,
Tyreek.
they don't have. A
Once he
first-round
traded
pick
for
yet.
Watson,
I disagree with Mike a little bit on
up?
that, but just based on the numbers you said, I don't think Tyreek Hill's skill set kind of separates him because Will Fuller doesn't have the same skill set as Tyreek Hill, and he was the primary target on a lot of Watson's deep balls. So I think a guy like a Jamar Chase or Justin Jefferson or any of the top 5 wide receivers would do just well with Deshaun
Well,
Watson.
what you want when a quarterback has the deep ball is his strength, because oftentimes those breakdowns aren't deep balls. Oftentimes the receiver's running back to the line of scrimmage on breakdowns.
Breakdowns,
But
yes,
when you think about a quarterback that's an elite quarterback on deep balls, which Watson clearly is, you want 2 things: a guy that can separate and a guy that's going to win 50-50 balls. And I don't know that Tyreek Hill necessarily is going to win a lot of 50-50 balls. He's not,
He's not huge. He's pretty
not
good in those
using
situations.
his size
though.
and position like a Justin Jefferson does.
yeah, I'm
I
not.
think Jamar Chase is
I'm not
incredible
taking
at that.
any right now. If I'm starting a team, it's Jefferson and Chase, and then everybody else.
Yeah, there is
To
pretty.
me,
I'm not going to argue.
Yeah.
I just think.
Now,
based
would
on
the Browns
skill
be better with Tyreek Hill? Hell yeah.
of course they would. I mean,
I'd love to see it, but it was never going to happen.
I mean, if you had Tyreek Hill and Amari Cooper, I mean, that would be. are pretty special. But
It's
I don't think that was ever realistic, and I don't think the Browns were ever.
agree.
I don't think the Browns were ever going to be traded for him because they gave up first-round picks to get him.
guys.
A first and a second.
Yeah.
One of the things that's standing out to me about Andrew Berry as we're figuring out what kind of player he likes, it's obvious to me, and I know the Amari Cooper thing notwithstanding, because that was a different deal altogether. The deal was there to be made. You're not going to not make that deal because it took so little to get him. But one of the things that I feel like Andrew Berry is infatuated with is speed at the receiver position.
Really?
Well, look at Schwartz. And he had no wide receiver skill set.
Yeah, but I don't know.
He had speed.
Cooper
What
doesn't
is
have
Marquise
big speed.
Goodwin?
David Bell doesn't have good
no,
speed.
But what is Marquise Goodwin?
Well, now I think he's making up for
What
his
is Elijah
shortcomings
Moore?
in that.
Well,
now he's
I think
infatuated,
I think his inclination is to go after the fast guy, and I don't know that that's always
but
the best
DPJ
play.
Did he
is
draft
not-
DPJ, or was that?
No, he drafted DPJ.
Yeah.
But like DPJ and Bell are guys that are.
They're slow,
Not
slower.
speed guys,
I mean-
but I just look at the Schwartz thing. I'm trying
But
to
he was
make
the only
sense of that.
that was the only guy
Well,
that
I think
took that was a speed
Goodwin
receiver.
is
But
clearly
until
a speed
now,
player.
Now,
I know,
clearly.
but until now, that was the only speed. And Goodwin's like an extra guy. I mean, you didn't spend any money on him.
He is, but it's a guy that he went out and felt strongly enough to go get.
Yes.
Right,
There
but
are other guys you could feel strongly about and say, I'm going to go get these guys.
I know, but DPJ, Amari Cooper, and Bell are all not speed guys.
But Moore, Schwartz, and Goodwin are.
I know, but you're saying he only wants speed guys.
No, I didn't
yeah.
say that. I said I think he's infatuated with the speed.
I don't think he's any more infatuated than any other GM.
I don't know. I don't know. It just
he
seems
had
like
done
these
nothing.
last moves this year,
Yeah.
the last two, to bring in these wide receivers, there were other guys that were available. Like I thought, Hunter Renfrow could have been had, I think, if the deal was right. And instead, the guys that were brought in, and I'm not, I think Moore's going to be fine. I do. I think he's going to be better with the Browns than he was in New York. But I think Goodwin is a guy that clearly upgrades your speed as a unit. If he ends up making this team, I don't think Schwartz will. I think it's one of the two.
Right, but Goodwin's, to me, is an afterthought. I don't think that's an obsession with speed because that's an afterthought with a lot. I mean, Elijah Moore has speed because you want to have one receiver that's going to play that has speed. None of his other top guys have speed.
Yeah.
And in my opinion, I came around on Hunter Renfrow, but I think Elijah Moore's got more upside than Hunter Renfrow, and which is why I think he went in that direction. I guess we'll see as time goes by.
We will, yeah. I still would like to see Hunter Renfrow in this offense. I would like to see
Are
a
you
guy like
completely
that.
closing the door on that possibility?
Pretty much.
I think so,
I think
yeah.
now, again, we talked about the whack-a-mole scenario that he was faced this offseason. He's knocked the defensive line moles down for now. Let's see how this group plays. I also think he's addressed the wide receiver core. I think that, and I don't know how much impact a rookie linebacker can have, particularly that's going to come that late in the draft and with this particular linebacking class. So I don't know how much inroad you're going to make during the draft on that. But that's clearly the next area that he has to focus on. He hasn't done enough work in the linebacking core.
They could end up with a second-round pick. I mean, they got enough ammunition. If they want to trade back into the second round, they'll be able to do it.
I bet
so
they
maybe
do, by the way.
I wouldn't be surprised because I don't think they want to draft 8 guys.
They can't. They don't have the roster spots for 8 guys.
Yeah,
They
and
gotta
So
move
you
around.
realistically hope 3 to 4 guys can make this team.
That's right.
Rookies.
So if that's the realistic situation, then if you have to
Package
use
some of your
a
picks
bunch
and
of
go
third,
up.
fourth, fifth rounders to move up to the second round,
And
there'll
they've-
be a trade available.
And they've been very good at doing that.
Well, they've moved more down the draft than up.
Yeah,
yes,
but that's to get draft collateral.
Right.
So
Now
now
they
that they
have
have
a lot
that
of it
capital
in
and
the
you
middle
don't
round.
have the need roster-wise,
Right.
your roster is pretty much full.
Yeah.
You might have 3 to 4 spots. So instead of taking a wild goose chase on 6 or 7, package
Right.
them up, go up higher in the draft, get the guy that you think can make the difference at linebacker. Because I still think that right now that's our glaring.
Yeah,
all
on
right?
paper, that's the
I mean,
biggest. That's
if
the
you-
worst
on paper,
unit by
Yeah.
far.
There's no depth.
Yeah, there's
and
nothing.
There's
You have-
really no standout.
I
you know?
don't. I'm
think
not even
Walker's
sure
a
you
guy-
have any starters, any definitive starters.
Well, Walker's gonna
Walker's
start
your
if he's
best
healthy.
linebacker, and he's okay.
Oh, he's coming off injury, so I mean,
Right, I don't know
we're
what he-
still
all
I
your
think
lines-
those guys are
God,
healthy.
he better be a starter.
All their
I mean,
linebackers are coming off injuries.
Yeah.
No, but I'm saying I don't know if they have any starters that are not starters only because you have
I
to
see what
start
you're saying.
somebody.
Yeah, on other teams.
Yeah,
on other
right.
teams.
So I think if we get to the second round, and whether it's maybe it's a defensive lineman, but maybe for our argument's sake, let's say there's a linebacker. They're like, this guy's really good. we're at 47 in the draft. We're not picking till whatever
74.
they picked, 74. We better use, even if they have to use 3 picks to move 4 picks.
Yeah.
They're
I'm
mid-round
okay with
picks.
that.
Who cares?
I'd rather them be aggressive to target a player they specifically like in the second round. I mean, they don't have enough ammunition to move to the first round. I'd love for them to get back in there. They just not trading 3s for a 1. But if they like someone at 50, 52, I'd rather them move up,
that guy.
trade 4, 5. Like, they only
I don't know
have
about 5. I'm okay with 3 picks, packaging 3.
You know what I'm saying? Use the ammunition you have to go get a player you really like higher in the draft than swinging. I don't want to say miss, but take swings on a bunch of guys later that have a much lower
the later
chance
you
of
go in the draft, the less likely you are to hit. I mean, that's just the way it is.
And they should find dance partners because there are teams that have a lot of needs.
Yeah.
They need the picks.
Sure.
So hopefully they can package some
and you
of
might
those
even
later
have to
ones
give away a
together.
second-round pick next year as part of a deal, depending on how high you want to move up.
I haven't read extensively on this, but everything I've read tends next year's draft class overall seems to be better. Scouts are more excited about next year than this year. Not at all positions, but overall talent.
There's 3 quarterbacks that if you listen to Mel Kiper, Tom McShay, and we'll find out in
these
5
things
years.
always change.
But I'm saying we'll find out in 5 years that
Yeah.
there's 3 quarterbacks they say would be taken ahead of any of the quarterbacks in this draft class.
Right. And
if it was
from a wide
available.
receiver standpoint, like everybody's salivating over Harrison.
He's a stud.
Right,
He's just
right.
pencil. He's a 10-time
You know,
Pro
I
Bowl.
think
Just pencil him
there are a lot of the general consensus is next year's draft is better. So I would want to. Plus, I'm not a fan of trading away all your high capital. Like we don't have a first this year. We don't have a first next year.
No.
We do still have next year's second. That's the highest we're going to pick in the next 2 drafts.
Right. Yeah.
I hope they hold on to that one because at some point you're going to need that stud coming
I
out
hear
of
you,
school.
but ultimately, if you have a player you feel like you got to get in the second round this year, and the
get
price
him.
is the second rounder next year, then you
get
do
him.
it if you have to.
if it's the perfect fit.
Yeah, sure.
If it's
I'm
the
with
perfect
you.
fit.
I'm with you. This window is win now, and I know we keep, not we, but I know a lot of people want to say that they have this prolonged window.
No, I don't.
These contract.
Well,
the
the
salary
problem
cap
for the Browns, like, listen, in general, I think as long as you have a great quarterback, and if Deshaun Watson gets back to being a great quarterback,
you have a window.
always have a chance.
But
However,
Patonio's getting older.
Well, but the problem with the Browns compared to some of the other teams with great quarterbacks is they have done so, at best, mediocre in the draft.
Yes.
That they haven't, like, that's the key, because I don't think the Chiefs are looking at it as a small window because Patrick Mahomes is making a ton of money, but they've done so well in the draft that they have a lot of guys who are cheap right now.
It's the Guardians factor.
Yeah,
They're going to
exactly.
develop and draft
Exactly.
extremely well.
You have to-
so you can lean on that.
This idea that you can't keep winning with an expensive quarterback is baloney.
No, that's
but
that's
once
not what
you
I'm
have
saying.
the expensive quarterback, you have to be excellent
Yes,
with your draft picks.
it puts a priority on that. That's where the
Huge.
Bengals have done really,
Yes,
really well.
and that's what-
the
and the-
Chiefs have done well.
And that's where the Browns must
Yes.
immediately turn it
Yes.
around.
I mean, you can pay if you're paying a quarterback top dollar.
Yes.
You can pay other positions top dollar. Kelsey's making top money.
Right.
Jawan Taylor for the Chiefs.
you got to have
Yeah.
folks on rookie
but you have
contracts
to
that are
have the
contributing.
bottom of the roster, and by bottom I mean that.
payroll bottom.
Yeah.
Yes.
Those guys,
Well,
you
those
have to
gotta
have
be good
guys
players.
guys on rookie
contribute
deals. That's why
Yes.
the
All the
Chiefs,
time,
that's why the
yes.
Chiefs were able to win.
Yes.
Yes.
They've got the perfect blend of superstar quarterback.
Yes.
Right.
Kelsey is an elite player. They have some elite linemen. They have some
Yeah.
other elite players. But when you have the number of rookies starting that they do,
It's 6 last year. 6.
look at
right.
what that does to your
That's
payroll
right.
flexibility. And the
And-
Browns don't have that, by the way.
And when you're good, you can let some of those rookies, like the Chiefs had a bunch of rookies that played, but a lot of times you could have those guys sit and learn,
Yeah.
and then they play the next year, and you let the veteran walk because you don't want to pay him. And that's
Juan
what they did with
Thornhill.
Juan Thornhill.
Yep.
You know, I mean, and that's what the Bengals are doing at safety as well. So, like, you got to make those choices. Eventually, there are some tough choices, but you don't want to give up your best players.
Right.
But those second-tier players, you got to be able to replace them with young, cheaper
and
players.
I think your point is Garrett's getting up there.
Older.
Chubb is getting up there. You know, these are
certainly
guys that if
Antonio.
they're not at the peak of their prime right now, they're really close.
Yeah.
Age-wise.
Yeah, another 2-3 years, Nick Chubb's probably not going to be that good. That's just the way it works at running back.
Sadly, you're right.
Yeah,
and
I mean,
defensive
maybe
end.
he'll be the anomaly, but most running backs, once they get to their late 20s, start to decline.
The average career looks a lot like Zeke's. I mean,
For a
of
running
an,
back.
of an elite guy, yeah.
Yeah.
The guys like, Thurman Thomas had an extended career. Emmett Smith played forever.
Yeah.
But you've got to keep your body in shape.
Derrick
You've got
Henry's
to
the modern day
work.
version of it.
Did you guys see the workout
Yeah,
videos of Derrick Henry?
It's stupid.
Yeah.
It's
I don't
it's
think I've
stupid.
seen a workout. There were 8 different clips. I
It's
don't
so
think I've seen
stupid.
anything more impressive.
It's so stupid.
And I've sent it to guys that are workout warriors, and they're like, holy shit, I'm tired just watching that.
That's stupid.
That he's a horse.
Yeah.
And now you know why he gets stronger in the game in the fourth quarter. And Nick Chubb's another guy. I mean, I know that they don't like to use him more than 17 carries, but Chubb's a guy that's impressive in the weight room too. Yeah. I'd like to see what he could do with 6 or 7 carries in the fourth quarter.
And maybe Chubb will last a year or two longer than Henry because he's taken,
maybe.
In the grand scheme of things, Nick Chubb still has a lot of carries compared to most running backs.
You're right, yeah.
But
most
not as much
running backs.
But not as much as Derrick Henry. So maybe he'll last a little longer. We'll see.
Do you all think he's the anomaly?
I hope so.
I hear a lot of people say, Chubb is getting older. Chubb is going to wear down. I've always had this take of, I think he's in that class with Adrian Peterson.
I hope so.
I think
There's no way to know.
Ford.
I mean,
I think he's that good.
Well, the one thing
would you have thought that? I don't think it has to do necessarily with how good you are. I mean, Le'Veon Bell was as good as any back in the league, and he went off the cliff. Sean Alexander, MVP, 2 years later, out of the league.
Cliff, yeah.
I will say this though: injuries plays a huge part. I mean, you can't predict it. You can do certain things to prevent them. And when I see Derrick Henry doing the things that he's doing, the lateral pulls that he was doing, I'm like, that's strengthening everything in your core, your knees down. So there's things that you can do, and Derrick Henry's clearly doing it. We know that Nick Chubb is a freak in the weight room and spends a lot of time there. It's guys like that are, here's what a athlete once told me. Oh, no, that's just par for the course. That's called changing the oil every 3,000 miles. I thought that was funny. It's preventative maintenance. And it's getting in there and doing the work. So I don't know that Alexander wasn't a guy that didn't put in the work.
Yeah, I don't know.
Maybe he was. And there are guys that put in the work that flame out after 4 years. But Walter Payton, his off-season workouts were legendary. And he did it for a very long time at a very high level.
I think, could Nick Chubb be a guy who's still good at 30, 31? He could be.
Yes.
But I think in your mind as a team, you have to assume that once a running back hits 30 the latest, he's not going to be the same guy.
Yeah, well, typically they rarely are.
Even if he's still good, he won't be. I mean, Nick Chubb is playing at a Hall of Fame level.
Yes.
So I can't. He's going to turn, I believe, 28 towards the end of the season in December.
That's why I bring he and Garrett up together.
Yeah.
Like, you just don't know where the peak is. Where is the prime years?
And defensive ends start to teeter off too.
But I think, I don't know that they're closer to the end of those prime years than to the beginning, but statistics tell us that to expect this kind of performance 4 years from now from both guys, it would be defying the odds.
And I hope we're all wrong.
I
hope we're wrong, but
I hope the odds are wrong.
Until we're in 2027, we honestly won't know.
Just give us the Super Bowl before then, and we won't have to worry.
Then it won't matter.
Okay, so this is a hot topic. I hadn't thought of this. I don't know where you came up with this, but I'm going to let you set it up because when you sent it, I looked at it like, wait, what? Is there a push to do this?
All right, so we all know G is out. And when G went out, I got a chance to – I filled in for him on Saturday.
Yeah.
And before I filled in, it was last minute. I'm searching for content, and I see something that just struck a nerve. People went crazy about this. I said that the Browns should adapt a real primary logo. I feel like the orange helmet is associated with a rich winning culture. That history of Browns that won 4 NFL championships, etc. My issue is all of that went to Baltimore with the Ravens. Since '99, the Cleveland Browns.
Didn't. I mean, the name and the colors and the uniform.
Just hear me out, Jake. Just hear me out.
Okay.
The culture of winning went to Baltimore.
That went to Baltimore
with the Ravens. So yeah, we kept the name, the colors, and the records, and all that is cool. But that orange helmet with no logo, that was for people that was winning championships. That was for Hall of Fame players. And then if you look at this team since 1999, we've had 2 owners. We've had 10 general managers. We have 12 head coaches, including interim head coaches. They've changed everything else. So it was just a thought that I had. So I'm asking you all, do you think the Browns should adapt a real logo?
Okay, before we answer, I know that you're posing the question. What's your answer?
Sounds
like you're thinking they should.
I think so for a few different reasons. I think just like it went from Cleveland Browns Stadium to First Energy Stadium, you're making money off of naming rights. I think that the younger generation can identify more with the team that has a logo. And I think they can do a lot with merchandise sales. Not that they do bad in that department now.
I wonder where do they rank? I wonder where the Browns rank in merchandise sales. Probably varies year to year. I would guess it would be real low.
Oh, yeah.
Just because they're not a winner.
I have no idea. Earl.
And the colors are ugly.
Yeah, now the Raiders have very little to lean on recently, but they've got a logo that's badass. The black and silver scheme is badass.
Well, it's like when the Nets went to Brooklyn. They weren't good. They hadn't been good in 14 years at that point.
Right.
But they were the number one selling merchandise thing because it's black and white. It's simple. It matches with literally everything. And
right.
Brooklyn
Black
is
and
a
white's
cool,
hot, though.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's a cool logo. And
so would you be for it, Bull?
I absolutely think so. But
a name change and a logo change?
I
or
wouldn't
not
change
a
the
change?
name. No, I wouldn't change the name. But I think you should have a logo. Like just having the hell. Now, listen. I didn't grow up born and raised on the team.
Yeah.
So I don't think on this particular subject, my opinion should matter as much as someone that grew up a diehard Browns fan.
What if this question was around the Bengals?
But I mean, I like the Bengals colors and they have a logo. So but if I had grown up a Browns fan, I think I'd have the same opinion. But I think the logo sucks. I think the colors suck. I wouldn't change the name of the team because I do like that. But I would add another color into the mix. I know G has talked about gunmetal gray.
Yeah.
I think that would look really cool. Having a real logo, whatever you want it to be, I think would be good.
And the elf doesn't count, does it?
No.
So
and by the way, just one other thing. And I know our man Cam in Canada. He's a huge fan of the show, tweets at us all the time, blah, blah, blah. I'm sorry. And if you're 70, 80 years old, you're going to get angry at me. I don't care about the pre-Super Bowl championships.
Yeah, few do.
Nobody pays attention to those.
Few even remember them now.
There were I'm
57 and I wasn't even born yet.
And they won 4 championships in the AAFC or whatever the hell it was called back then. There was no teams. Even when they won NFL championships, there was only like 14 teams. Yeah. It's a totally different thing. It's not equivalent to winning a championship.
I'm not going to completely dismiss it.
Yeah.
It happened. It's part of history.
But Cam likes to be.
If that's what you're hanging your hat on,
I know. Cam
that's a sad state.
He goes on Twitter. He's like, "We're the 8-time champion."
Nobody looks at us like the 8-time champion.
No.
I do appreciate Cam's enthusiasm.
I love Cam, and he loves me, so I gotta love him. But
so like, well, I'm not a Cleveland native by nature, but I do like swag and
So name change or not?
Yeah.
I'm not changing the name. Browns is sticking 100%.
Yeah, right.
I do think the fact that there isn't a logo is a little odd, and I know there's history and tradition in that. And
I think it's lame. It's time to make a change.
I just think when you look at swag and merchandise, you need to have something. And I know that it's the empty helmet, and I get that. And I don't like the elf as a prime. I think the elf's perfectly fine as a secondary logo as it currently is. But I want a bulldog. I want something that you could put on a hat that's
the Yankees don't have one.
But at least they have.
But the
Yankees
is a traditional winning organization.
What about Penn State?
Penn State has a logo.
The Yankees have a logo.
And the Yankees, the NY.
I'm saying, what is a Brown?
I don't know. You want to change the name of the team?
No, I don't.
Oh.
But I can understand why there's a
Brown
lot of people that say the voices that I hear outside of Cleveland.
Yeah.
They're like, you guys are never going to be good. You don't even know what you are.
Yeah.
And I say, well, what does that have to do with being good? Well, apparently it has everything to do with being good because you guys don't have a winning identity.
Well, in my stand-up, I made fun of the fact that
what is
Brown's
it?
a Brown, yeah.
What is a Brown?
But I
know what a Yankee is. I know what a Nittany Lion is.
But
I know what
Swagger's the official team mascot. He's a bulldog.
What is a Nittany? I don't know what a Nittany Lion is. What is a Nittany
It's a
Lion?
lion.
It's a mountain lion.
Lion?
Yeah.
Well, why a Nittany Lion? What is that?
I'm not sure.
But just to differentiate from being a lion, because the Emerson Lions and the Penn State Lions, that was not. So they're the Nittany Lions.
Yeah, but I don't know what Nittany comes from.
What's Nittany?
I don't know. Is that a kind of lion?
I'll look it up. I don't
Hey,
know.
Google, what the hell's Nittany?
Yeah. The hell's this
What
Nittany?
is-
I don't know what that is either.
Nittany
But
lion.
look, I don't know how I feel about this. I mean, on one hand, I'm wearing a Guardian sweatshirt.
Right.
I was not in favor of changing the team name. I thought that why would you wash all that history around?
I got the answer, by the way.
What is it?
Do you guys want to know what a Nittany is?
I'm guessing it's a kind of lion.
It's an eastern mountain lion that comes from the local mountain in that area of Pennsylvania called Mount Nittany.
Okay.
Oh, okay. Now we know.
Nittany.
Now we know.
There you go.
So I don't know that I don't know that I would necessarily be in favor of a name change, but I will say it's really hard. I talked about LeBron's funny rant one time about the color scheme.
Right.
And he was half kidding, but I don't think he wanted to upset Browns fans. But he was like, do you have brown and orange in your closet?
Right.
At all? That's not Cleveland Browns?
I do now.
Yeah, but it's because it's Cleveland Browns merchandise.
Yeah.
He said,
Yes.
he goes, I don't know of anybody that's not a Browns fan that has brown and orange in their wardrobe. And would you ever pair the two together? Like, has anyone ever dressed in all brown and all orange that wasn't for a Browns game, looked in the mirror before they went out and said, man, now this is the look I'm going for.
Right.
Tyvus has.
This is the look.
Maybe Tyvus?
Tyvus would.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean,
Well,
it's
but let me
not. It
ask you
just
this,
doesn't
Jay.
go together.
How do you didn't want the team, the Indians to change to the Guardians?
I did not.
Do you feel less bothered by it now than you did when it first happened?
I'm like everything else. I'm just getting more and more used to it.
And that's what happens,
But,
right?
yeah, it is.
Right.
And all the
For
people
most
that said, I'm
people.
never going to watch a game again, you lie.
Yes,
Because
right.
as soon as the Guardians made the playoffs, they
Right.
watched.
Most
they
people
didn't tell their
come
friends
around.
they watched, but they watched.
Most people come around. So,
Yeah.
I think my guess is much like a lot of other things, I bet a lot of our young fans would love to see the change.
Yeah.
And a lot of the older fans are like, don't mess with
Yeah,
it.
because, again, it's your identity. It's your tie to the team is the
Yeah.
history.
Right.
That's it.
Yeah.
I mean, imagine if we had to pick a new team every year.
Right.
Like, you can't pick the Bengals now. You've had
Yeah.
the Bengals.
Every year I
so
gotta
who's
root for
gonna be your
another
team now?
team. Yeah.
Yeah, so, I mean, that history
Right.
means more to us the older we get. That's why
Yeah.
the younger fans are like, who gives a rat's ass?
Right.
I've been a fan 5 years. I don't care.
And let me preface something
Yeah.
with all this. Let's say they were to go make some sort of change, adapt the logo.
yeah.
It does not always mean for the better. Look at the Washington Redskins to football team. I don't think anyone in Washington likes
Well,
the
now
Commanders.
they're the Commander.
Now.
No,
That's what
I
I'm
don't
saying. I
either.
don't think
I don't
anyone.
either.
But that's a different story. Nobody's talking about changing the name.
No. But I'm just saying, like,
Yeah.
to
And
a-
by the way,
to a-
maroon and whatever the hell their colors are, they suck too.
I agree, but
Yeah,
I didn't
yeah.
know the logo. Like, hey, we need a logo, right?
It would be
and then you get
hard.
a logo, and then it's disappointing. It's actually a step
Yeah,
back in the
you
entire.
need to get it right.
I think it
have
would
to
be
get
And
it
I'm
hard.
not sure, by the way, I'm not sure the Guardians was the best choice. Because 95% of people outside of Cleveland and at least half the people inside Cleveland said, the hell's a Guardian?
I'm convinced they did that just so they could keep the IANS on the
There's a
left
school of
field
thought
sign,
that said that.
and they just
yeah, there's a
that-
school of thought that said that.
DIANS.
DIANS.
Yeah, like
yeah.
this most of
They
that
dropped.
sign
They dropped in
and
for
inserted
guard.
guard. Exactly.
That's it.
Save
You know?
half
But
the-
ultimately, with the Browns, like, it'd be hard to have a worse logo than just the helmet. Like, I mean,
There's no logo. I mean,
Right,
look,
there's-
it's infinity. It's
Yes.
like it's nothing and everything
and
all
then
at
you're
the same
changing
time.
the colors, adding a little more color to it. You're not changing the name of the team.
No, you can't. I actually really like the name Browns.
You do?
I like the name
I do
Browns.
too. I've always liked it,
I-
even though
I
it
like
doesn't
it.
have
Yeah, it
meaning.
has-
really.
I know, but like the first question is, if someone landed here from Mars,
Yeah.
and they started looking at sports teams, like, oh, the Cavaliers, that's interesting. The
Yeah.
Swashbuckler, that's cool. Oh, the Redskins, or not the Redskins,
Yeah.
but
But it's the
oh,
Cincinnati
the
Reds.
Buccaneers. The Reds is a long
St.
time,
St.
but
Louis
that was
Blues.
short for Red Stockings.
Yeah, right.
Oh, I
Like-
didn't know that.
Like White Sox.
But
know
like
that.
the Brown, I'm sure they were like, and then there's the Cleveland Browns. What's the Brown?
I mean,
What's
wouldn't this alien have more important things to focus on?
Well,
might be
look,
trying to
that's
take over the
that's the
world.
Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show hypothetical machine.
But-
you might get in, but you'll
Yeah.
never get out.
By the way, I was thinking for a second, because last week we were talking about how, like, the country's never been more divided. There's
Yeah.
nothing everybody agrees on. And for a moment, I was like, well, if we got attacked by people from Mars, maybe we'd all come together. And then I was like,
Why not? No.
What? Half of us would support the aliens.
Half of us say, let's be nice to them. Come on, they're our guests. And the other half would be, we got to destroy them.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're a divided group.
Yeah.
We are
So,
divided.
even that
group.
wouldn't
When
bring us
Earl
together.
asked
but-
me this question
Yeah.
yesterday, though, before we go, Earl, I did think of something. So, Steve, you just took the shot of the bobblehead, the
Yeah.
brown bobblehead over there.
Yeah.
I was thinking it's just a plain helmet, right? What if they put the helmet on the helmet? And I was like, well, that doesn't work because then it'll just blend right in.
Yeah, no.
Because the logo itself, well, the logo, if you look up Brown's logo, it's just the empty Brown's
He's saying
helmet.
put a brown
And they put the
helmet
Browns
on
helmet
the
because I
helmet.
was like, wait, there is nothing on the
That would look
helmet.
ridiculous.
And I was like, it would look
stupid.
the stupidest thing
That
in the
would be
world.
the way to screw up the logo.
Which is how I
Yeah,
got
you're
into
right.
my thought process of if you are going to give them a real logo,
Yeah.
you can't screw it up. Like you cannot
No.
mess it
And
up.
and okay, so on that vein, because I think you're right. Like you got one
like
chance.
imagine and obviously this would never happen, but their logo currently is a helmet. Imagine a helmet on a helmet. It'd
yeah,
be the
I understand what you're saying.
By the way,
helmetception.
But
and there's-
I almost got the sense last year they were trying to force the elf on us as the logo.
They were.
Yes.
They were. But
And it
here's-
didn't work.
Well, before you go, hold that
Yeah.
thought. What's up,
Real
bro?
quick, because I got to force this read on y'all.
Yeah.
The 12 o'clock lunch hour of UCSS is brought to you by College Racing.
As
Okay.
always, the entire second hour.
The
Thank you,
advantage
Colleague
in a
Racing.
way that the Browns would have if they were creating a logo is that as you said, with the other teams, you know what their name is.
Yeah.
So you're limited as to what your logo could be.
True.
The Browns could be we could make it anything.
We could be
It could be a dog. It could be an elf. It could be I could be whatever the hell I want.
A Steelers, a friend of mine who's a Steelers fan.
Yeah.
He's not a real friend then.
No, he is. We disagree on football teams of choice, but we had this conversation a couple of years ago, and he said, we talked about it. He always mocks, he's like, and he's also a Penn State fan. So when he would say, "You guys suck. You don't even, your helmet. You don't know. You don't have a logo." I'm like,
did you ask him how Jerry Sandusky was doing these days?
No, I did not. I don't take that out on their fan base.
Okay.
But I said, well, your helmet has on it exactly what our helmet has on it, and he said, yeah, but at least we know what we are. We're the Nittany Lions. And then, so we've had this long-running argument. But then after like 2 months of not talking about it, he said, "I've got it. I figured it out." I'm like, "What?" He said, "I finally found out your logo," and he sent me the shit emoji.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, very funny.
I thought
Steelers fans would love
that's where
that.
Bo was going. What if they put helmet stickers on? Like Ohio State and Michigan.
Oh, that's interesting.
Browns
Like
helmet
dog
stickers.
bones or something like
By
that.
the way,
You know what? I think I'd be for that.
By the way,
nobody else in the NFL does it.
Real quick sidebar.
There's probably a rule against it.
I bet you didn't expect to hear me say this today. Speaking of the shit emoji, there is actually a giant billboard if you're driving on 90 going west out of the city towards,
Sandusky.
towards
west.
Yeah,
I saw it. I saw it.
There's a Roto-Rooter with a giant shit emoji in the toilet.
And you know what? I think it's a great advertisement.
Stands out. I always remember it.
You see it and
That's
you
right.
remember it, and that's the whole idea.
Yes.
But I do not want that on the side of our
I don't want that
helmet.
to be the Browns logo.
Yeah,
obviously.
I don't either.
The team gets picked on enough.
What?
That,
do you guys? I'm
What do you
guessing
think of the helmet? What's the sticker idea though?
I'm guessing the league has a rule against that.
Probably.
You know how they're uniformity on everything.
I
bet
like
you
that.
there's.
I think that would be very cheesy.
I'm with Jay on this one though. You get dog bones added to your helmet per your
And
accomplishments.
nobody
as the
else
season
is
goes
doing that in
on.
the NFL. I know it's a
but
big
that
college
seems very
thing.
college.
It does seem
I
college,
don't
but nobody else is doing it in the NFL. And
Imagine at the end of the year, Deshaun Watson play like crap, and he got like 5 dog bones. Us as people in the media are going to be looking at the Browns helmets, judging the players based off how many dog bones you got on your helmet.
yeah, Anthony Schwartz is hoping that this doesn't become a thing.
Well,
forget it.
Well, didn't Hugh Jackson make him earn the stripe on their helmet? Was that a Hard Knocks?
Yeah, that was huge.
Yeah, I
Cute,
think
yeah.
there
And then
was
you
a
had,
thing where they in the preseason where they just had the white.
Yeah, but
and
the
you had
interesting thing is Hugh is what's known in technical terms as a dumbass, and was a lousy coach.
technical terms.
And so why would we want to take anything that he did?
No, I was just asking. I mean, I'm not saying you should have
What do
like
you say, you gotta
stripes
earn
down the
your
helmet,
stripes?
but
Yeah,
What was that?
he said they got to earn their stripes.
That was Hugh's mantra. You got to earn your stripes.
Yeah, how'd that work out?
not great.
All right, so a couple things we need to get to before we get to final takes, man. Again, this 12 o'clock lunch hour is brought to you by Carlick Racing, Northeast Ohio's NASCAR team. Shout out to Carlick Racing. We did get a few more super chats in.
Okay.
Halim Youssef sent another super chat. This, and I assume he was talking about the Major League Baseball rules. This will make it better for TV viewing, but the in-stadium experience will be worse. You drive 30 minutes, park for 15 minutes, walk in for 20 minutes to stay 2 hours, and it's over. It's not worth going to. Then
ridiculous.
the April. Bull acts like everyone who hates the MLB changes is nuts. Yet he said Friday that James Earl Jones' speech in the Field of Dreams was the greatest baseball speech, which is about how baseball does not change.
Yeah, it's a movie. So what?
I'm just reading the super
April, I
chats,
love
man.
you. April, you know I love you. We chat all the time, but I always give my opinions as if they're facts. Obviously, I don't think they're facts, but we all believe in what we say, right? Do you ever give an opinion and think it's a stupid opinion? Why would you give it if you thought it was a stupid opinion? So let's go. Let's suck it up. Number 2, that caller saying that you'd only stay for 2 hours is dumb. That's the dumbest thing I ever heard.
The single dumbest thing you've ever heard?
I mean, no, I've heard so many dumb things. First of all, the games are not going to be 2 hours. The average game time was 3:05 last year, whatever it was, and I think the average so far is like 2:30. So
2:34, I think was the morning.
So it's a 30-minute difference. What, you're okay paying for a 3-hour game, but not a 2-hour, 30-minute game? Basketball's 2.5 hours. Hockey's 2.5 hours. What are you talking about?
I'll tell you, there's one difference, okay, in my mind, and
Yeah.
I'm not supporting that. I'm
Yeah.
not a fan of that. But I do think if I go to a game that's 2 hours and 10 minutes, but I'm the exception. They're not changing this rule for me. I was fine with it at 3
Yeah.
hours. If I go to a game that's 2 hours and 10 minutes, my personal thought on that is I didn't get enough baseball.
It's the same amount of baseball.
I know it is. I know it is.
They're cutting out downtime.
Right, they are. But
Yeah.
To me, I appreciated that downtime. That's part of the cat and mouse.
Right, but you can have a 2 hour, 10-minute game. You could have the Guardians game, the second game on Friday was 3 hours.
Well, you're talking about a guy, Bull, that when they washed out doubleheaders, I was hot about that.
Yeah.
My dad only used to take us to doubleheaders.
I get
That's
it,
how much
you would say
but
for 18
in the
innings?
end, Jay,
all 18 innings.
in the end,
and hope the second game went to extra
listen,
innings.
I'm a guy.
That's how I
I'm
am.
a guy who, until the last couple of years, had never left a game early. In the last couple of years, I have. But once you have kids, it makes it tricky. But
Excuses.
they're not cutting out any game. They're cutting out the downtime. You're not losing out on any game.
I can argue against that.
I got a question.
argue
I got a
against
question
that.
real quick. When they went, maybe the COVID year, the doubleheaders went 7 innings. Right?
Yeah, right.
What was your thought? Because I didn't know you back then.
I hated it.
You didn't like the
I
7
liked
innings?
it.
You
I
liked
hated
the 7
it.
innings?
For a COVID year, I wouldn't do it.
No, yeah.
But for that
So
year, I
for
liked
obviously
it.
for the
COVID things had to
people-
change, but I hated it.
Yeah.
For the people out there that are saying it's not enough baseball, do they also hate the 7? I'm assuming they
It's
hated the
the
7
exact
innings.
same amount of
'Cause this is-
baseball.
Yeah, see, now,
27 ounce
I'll
both
argue
ways.
that it's different,
Yeah.
that it's not.
Yeah.
Now, and again, this is nuance, and the average fan doesn't care about this.
Yeah.
That's why I'm saying these rules changes weren't made for me.
Yeah.
They were made to get people like Mike to go to more games.
Yeah.
But for me, personally, I have no problem with the pitching changes that were happening.
Yeah.
You're like, I want to go lefty-righty. I want to.
Well,
there's
but that
something-
rule's a couple of years old now at this point.
I don't love that rule. I'm
Yeah.
talking about all the
Right.
rules changes in general. As for the clock, I am reserving judgment. I love that games are quicker. I do, because I think that's going to benefit the sport. But in the playoffs, when every pitch is magnified and it is so important, because in 162, let's face it, no single pitch is that big. But in the playoffs, oftentimes these 7th, 8th, and 9th, in every pitch is a contestant pitch.
Yeah.
Means the game can swing on that pitch. And sometimes I understand that working slowly is going to bring about better results for some.
There's no
and when you put a
reason-
shot clock to speed it up, what happens when you do your best work? The teachers would tell me this in school all the time because I always rush through everything. I don't need your fastest work. I need your best work. And I think that Karinchak is a guy, for example. I don't want to see a playoff game decided because a pitcher is running on a treadmill he can't keep up
Jay,
with.
if he can't get that under control after 162 games, then don't pitch him.
Yeah, well,
That's it.
That's
you
all,
have the whole season to adjust to
That's
it.
all well and good until
Yeah.
the best pitcher in baseball can't do it.
Well, the best pitcher in
And then-
baseball should be used to it if he's that good by the end of the season.
Should be.
We're 162 games in.
But we're
If he
going to see
can't-
how this affects different
I love
players
it. I
in
love
pressure.
it.
And by the way, if
Yeah.
again, I'm different. I wanted the doubleheaders when I was a kid. I want baseball.
We're not removing any baseball. We're removing downtime.
No, again, what you're removing again.
Yeah.
There's strategy to throwing over 3 times in an at bat. You may not.
If everybody loves it, why do they always boo with that? Which is stupid.
Again, these rules changes weren't made for me. They were made for the people that everybody. Now, the home team boos it.
Yeah.
But when my pitcher is
Yeah.
doing it and I'm at the Guardians game, they're not booing him.
No, I know that, but
And they're understanding that.
okay, so
you're
that's the
trying-
only baseball you're cutting out. The guy throwing 3, 4, and
Right,
5
but
times to first base.
Bull, there was
Yeah.
a team once upon a time that won a World Series because they stole a game. Stole a base.
Jay, I get what you're saying. In the end, in terms of the amount of pitches, the amount of hits, these things are not changing. In fact, they might even just get better.
Yeah,
There might
but
be more
you're
hits.
saying you're not losing any baseball. I'm saying, no, you are.
I don't really see it that way.
If Dave Roberts is on first base,
Yeah.
and I understand as the Yankees pitcher at the time that I've got their foot on their throat. I've got to keep this runner close.
Yeah.
Because if he steals this base, who knows what can happen? Well, we saw what happened.
Okay, but how does
They
that
were-
change with these new rules?
Because you can't keep runners on. That was, and by the way, that's what Carl and Tito said the same thing. The dynamic between base runner and pitcher has changed forever.
But that doesn't mean it's less baseball. It just means the dynamics change.
It does mean there's less baseball. I can't throw over there if I want to every time I want to throw over there. That's less baseball.
So is it a
So
situation?
the only
to where
baseball you're
the
losing is
experience?
throws to first. I can
No.
live with that.
You guys are both right.
You're losing some competitive, like part of playing. It'd be like when they play speed chess. I don't play chess, so I
Jay,
don't
you're
really
only
understand
losing
this.
throws to first. That's it.
No, you're also losing the time that a pitcher may want to take between pitches.
But nobody is when people. That's not what people are complaining about. Time between pitches.
What people are complaining about
I only watch for 220 instead of 240. It's not you're in that 220 to 240. You're essentially not losing any game play.
And who wanted to do
You're
the
losing
final
downtime.
Did you want to? Or did
Now we're out
He
of
said
time.
he's good.
Shoot.
Oh, wait. Do we have time?
Yeah,
we
go
got
ahead.
time. Go ahead, knock it out.
I didn't want to miss it because we don't do them very often. And
I want to
Anthony
complain
especially.
about some stuff.
Well, like, get it off your
And
chest.
I have to get this off my chest as the voice of God today. Guys, I don't travel that much. I haven't traveled since before COVID, at least on a plane. What is the point of a booking site? And I'm not going to name the specific ones I was using yesterday, but they won't take your credit card. I found my flight. I found my hotel. I went to book everything, and I had to go to a different website. I had to go to the hotel in the airline's website to book it.
I've
They
never had a
refused
problem with
to
that.
take my credit card, and I was so pissed.
Were you putting it
It took
in?
me
Never heard of
3
such a
hours.
thing.
You were putting it in incorrectly,
You
Anthony.
screwed up,
I've
Anthony.
used
Oh,
all
no,
booking
no,
sites.
no. I put everything in right. I even
Mention
called
the name of the
customer
site.
support. What was that?
Mention the name of the site.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, because if they sponsor us, I'm going to hype them up. I don't care. I have no shame.
I mean,
I've never had that happen.
I have to
I use
believe
gift
it.
cards on
Stressed
all booking
yesterday.
sites.
No offense to Anthony, but I can't see how this was not his mistake.
Listen, when Anthony told me that this morning, I was like, Anthony, something's got to be up because I showed him how. But you know what? I trust Anthony. I believe in Anthony.
Wait,
Anthony, if you
Look,
say it didn't work.
I thought it was me too. I tried 3 different cards. I called my support on
Is
my
it-
Capital One card. I called the support of the website. Everybody was like, I don't know. It's just not working.
Well, I mean, it's a website. That's the only way they can do business. So I don't know.
Yeah, I'm just. What's the point of them? Just go to the spot.
I'm with Bull, and
just wanted
I hate to be
complain.
critical,
Yeah.
but you've been known to hit the wrong keystroke a time or two.
Hey, real quick, the chat said Bull
This
wanted
is
us
fair.
to name drop all show long.